Watch the show live on our Bounce Up Central platform and social media channels, YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. Keep the conversation going before, during, and even after the show. Chat in real time on our 24-hour live chat on Bounce Up Central at bounceup.com. Bounce Up Central, the community platform that's We Ting, created for we, by we.
Because I'm begging the master, give me a walk with Peter. If I some sinners coming, with them I go be dealing. Because the things that they do me, I want to fix them personally. I'm burning.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying tuned on the afternoon drive. And of course, you can't help but stay locked on to I-95, the most influential name in radio. I told you I'm going to have my say. My inability to be here on Monday, or my fact that I wasn't here on Monday or Tuesday, was not of my doing. I guess the one PNM team felt it more appropriate, like the UN did, to bring their advertisements and broadcasts on this afternoon drive in my time slot. The UN did it to shut me up. I don't know why they did it. You be the judge. I guess they could have gone in the morning with Daily Knock and Tony Lee. But you know what? They probably chose the best drive time in the world, I-95, the afternoon drive. So thanks for that recognition of the afternoon drive and its impact and potency. But I'm here today, God spare my life. Thank you. And I will have my say. I am going to interview Freddie Ferreira at 5:45 so that he will have his views expressed. But I want to say this. First, I've been on radio. On this station, this month, June, is 20 years that I've been here. Previously, thanks to my colleague Harvey Boris, who brought me on radio at 102. And then when he went to take up other responsibilities, I was joined by my business partner and friend, Wendell Stevens. I was brought here on the morning drive with Dale and Tony because of my PNM perspective, being a sitting councillor at the time. And I declared that, and I've been that. However, country first before party for me. So that I have come to be known and had paid a price for even challenging Patrick Manning and disagreeing with his government and his members of parliament at times. I paid a price for that. And criticizing and disagreeing with Dr. Rowley and his cabinet, and I paid a price for that. But I have supported the PNM nonetheless, because I want always what is best for Trinidad and Tobago. I say that to say that yes, I've been a change maker, but I've never aligned myself with any group of individuals and hid behind a name or a brand. I have declared what I am, and I've spoken my mind. And many times I have stood alone, but that I have survived. So branding me a member of the change makers, you have a problem because you've missed the boat. I'm not a member of that group of people who have come together to raise their voices and express their views. But you have missed the boat, because all that it did for me is to show that there are other people who have chosen to come together under that umbrella who may have similar views to mine. So you not only have me to deal with and others like me, but you have that group of people who remain anonymous. Harvey Boris, always somebody on his own never afraid without any sobriquet, except that he loves his country and he says that without, you know, behind any group. He showed his hand very early. Ashton Ford, former General Secretary, Member of Parliament for Arima, Mayor of Arima, he doesn't hide behind any sobriquets. He has spoken his mind and views. So for labeling us as change makers, you're halfway right. We are, in our own individual capacity, change makers, but we are not members or a member of any group of people who call themselves and brand themselves as change makers. So you all have missed the boat in that regard. And I make no apologies for the positions that I've taken, but you all can go ahead fooling yourselves about me being a change maker or part of any group. There's another group that you all have branded, UNC, what? The UNC Cabal or some other name. And you all have gone after them as well, calling them all kind of names, apparently. Well, you didn't feel that way when they were supporting the PNM against the UNC. They have raised their voices for the PNM in support of the PNM. And more importantly, on issues that they felt should be treated with as a group in terms of the PNM, support of the PNM. So if now they are raising their voices and expressing their views as it relates to an internal PNM business, what you have done by castigating them is that you have alienated some of them because they have a different view to you all. Add that to the 102,000 people who didn't vote for the PNM in the last general election. When you marginalize people, you create additional problems for yourself. And if the title of the group is One PNM, does it suggest, and it's just a question, that everybody else who, the teams and the different individuals who are challenging the team and individuals and the individuals who may have a different view, is it that they are not included in the One PNM and therefore only the people who you support, who support you, known to you, be part of that One PNM? The name by choice, the name that you all created for yourselves, is a significant message that you are sending. And you're sending it based on the behavior that we are seeing. I found it unfortunate, the comments made by a new member of parliament, young man who has so much promise, Karim Marcel, making on the platform about those who may be opposed to the group that he is associated with and part of the team. Very unfortunate. And I pray and I hope that it's all part of the learning curve for him and that he will remedy that approach and behavior. And of course, there's another character who is also making a lot of derogatory remarks about people and groups who may not be this year's support for them. Now, I want to tell our listeners that I have been in the PNM since 1978. I've said that many times. And I'm saying that to say I've witnessed many losses, 1986, 1996, 2001 or 2, and now I've witnessed that. I've been part of that. I've been part of the PNM rebuilding. I've been part of many internal elections, even one that I participated in. And probably what I've experienced, the most brutal one was the one in 96 when Dr. Roddy challenged Mr. Manning. But I have never witnessed this kind of derogatory comments about members of the PNM. They're not UNC members, no. Members of the PNM who choose to have a different view to you. Now, the challenge I'm having is that if the behavior and the utterances that are being made now, and you all have not yet been elected, I should change that, and I should change that. However, when the election results are announced and you all retain office, it seems that democracy will not be as we know it in the PNM. So if there are any dissenting voices, people will continue to be isolated, marginalized, and made to feel not a member of this PNM party. Be that as it may, I can only hope, pray, and hope for the best. But I'm not fazed by your behaviors and your utterances. Not fazed. I want what is best for Trinidad and Tobago. And my membership in the PNM has always been one of my contributions to Trinidad and Tobago. I chose the PNM because I think it was then and remains now the best political party on the landscape of Trinidad and Tobago. This, what we're experiencing, while it does not reflect that, I still have hope. I believe in the founding fathers and what they did, what they built, and I have confidence that we will rectify this one way or the other. I want to read something that I was sent by a PNM person who I know, and I would not call their names. Let me read it, because it expressed a lot of my confidence, a lot of my views on this matter. I am loath to comment on the PNM internal elections, as I will probably end up supporting whomever is elected to run the affairs of the party going forward. What I will not support is the snaky, snide, and ungrateful comments coming from some of our combatants. You all knew the character of Dr. Rowley from 91. So to attack his style is at best maddening and worse, ungrateful. He embraced and promoted most of you all. I say all. Promote a new leader. Sing her praise. Accept her leadership style. Accept her leadership style. But do not castigate a man and an institution that you all benefited from. I will have none of it. Dr. Audi, in his own style, governed this country through extreme difficult times. He made errors, yes, especially in some of his appointments, I agree, including at local government. But he ruled with an iron fist that this country needed. Clearly, the returning PM has taken example. But he ruled with an iron fist that this country needed. Clearly, the returning PM has taken example. I wish the Honorable Penelope Beckles the best. I wish whomever is elected the best. But there's a party and a country to save. Let go and let God. One life, live it. I want to tell you this. One of the most difficult times I faced is 1996, when there was this challenge between Mr. Manning and Dr. Rowley. But you know what I did not hear? At any time, and I was around when Mr. Chambers took over. Matter of fact, my first public speech was in 1986 on platforms with the Mr. Chambers. I was so honored. That was my first public speeches, and I spoke on many platforms in Diego Martinez, and when he came to Diego Martinez and in other places with him. He never castigated Eric Williams. When Patrick Manning came in, I was a big supporter of Patrick Manning. And I never heard him publicly or anybody of his era chastise Mr. Chambers. I was very present with Dr. Rowley as leader of the opposition. And in spite of the challenges he had, the personal challenges he and Mr. Manning had, I want to point out two things. One, when there were motions of no confidence in Patrick Manning as Prime Minister, he was the one and only person who stood in defense of Mr. Manning in the parliament, and he did an excellent job. On every occasion, he was the main person. And I never heard him castigate, denigrate Mr. Manning or anybody of that era when he took over. He never did it. So when I hear former members of the parliament, of the cabinet, members of parliament now, and the people who are vying for office in the PNM, speak derogatory of Mr. Manning, of Mr. Dr. Bill Rowley and Stewart in their public meetings, I cringe. You know what is sad? I have a video, and I'll share it with you all one day, where these same people were congratulating Dr. Rowley. They were high in praise for Dr. Rowley. They spoke of how much he did for them on his resignation as Prime Minister. I have the videos. And now they are listen, this for me is sad. They are now publicly in their meetings castigating Dr. Rowley and for the public to hear. This is sad. Very, very sad. And for me, it speaks volumes about their character and how they see people. So what I am thinking is they're not going to stop there. So not only castigating them in the public and on social media, but it means that if they believe, if they hold office, and I believe they will, if they hold office, then anybody they perceive to have supported Dr. Rowley and or Stuart Young, they're in trouble. So where's the one PNM? And we see it already in this election. It's sad. Very unfortunate. So when you win, or should I say, when the outcome of the election is in your favor, as I anticipated will. A matter of fact, let me say this, folks. I believe the outcome of the election is already determined. It is already determined. And I, Darian Marcel, is not going to participate in a process where I don't have confidence in the process and the outcome. And if I was, and I want to tell you, I took that position very early because of what I was seeing taking place on the landscape. And it kept bothering me. But you see, this morning when I read the papers, and Mr. Michael Seals determined that he has to protect his integrity and his name, and he has resigned from the advisory committee, saying that he's not prepared to continue because he's not part of the decision making. That's what I understand. He as vice chairman of the advisory committee. What he did not say spoke loudly to me, because he doesn't prepare to go into details. And I guess that's been honorable. But more honorable is when he has tendered his resignation, because he don't want, when the outcome happens and his name is called, that he's associated with that. And I will end here for now, because I promised you to have Mr. Ferdy Ferreira views on this, and we have him on the line. Ferdy, good afternoon and welcome.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Darian.
Ferdy, I wanted to speak with you at this critical time in the life and the history of the PNM, because you are the only founding member of the party that I know and who continue to be active and outspoken on party matters and political matters. I want to start by asking you, what are your thoughts as we go on the election campaign of the internal elections of the PNM, as we are just about 3 days away from that event? What are your thoughts?
Let me put it this way, Darren. I've been following the campaign. I mean, I'm a member of the PNM, and I continue to be a loyal and devoted member of the party. I'm a bit disappointed about the line that has been taken by what they call them, the one PNM team. Over the years, first of all, let me say there are a lot of misinformation out there that I feel as a party, 70 years old, can be avoided. If persons aspiring to office, party members, just inform themselves or acquaint themselves with the history of the party. Thereafter, I'm hearing this about slates. Since I'm a foundation member of the party, I can say with every degree of authority, Eric Williams never had a slate. Chambers never had a slate. Slate, as far as I recall, came in during the Manning period, more so in the 1996 election.
Yes, you're very correct. This comment was made, is attributed to Senator Amy Brown,
yes,
as a member of the one PNM slate.
Yes.
I read it and I found that to be very misleading.
Well, you see, this research has made the point that I'm disappointed in that the information is there. There are about 9 books written about Dr. Williams and the PNM, beginning with the Wilton Rogers, Amish Josaran, Dr. Ken Boodoo, Winston Mahabir in an outer project, Professor Palmer. There is the Inward Hunger. There is the other one with a lot of Dr. Williams. So the information.
And then there's Fodi Ferreira, who could pick up the phone and call.
And is always available to
Correct.
all of them. All. From the leader back down. I've never made myself. I've always made myself available free of charge to provide the information as recorded. So when I hear persons aspiring to the highest office making these statements, I feel a bit disappointed. 2, as if in some of the statements, as you correctly said earlier on, I have been, as you know, one of the most consistent critics of Dr. Keith Rowley. Even long before there was this problem with Dr. Stuart Young, I went on record of being critical of some of the positions and sometimes what I consider the inappropriate way. Well, let us not forget Dr. Rowley entered politics in 1981, giving up a professional career to enter the political arena. Like all others, he has made mistakes. But Dr. Rowley has made, whether you like him or you don't like him, a considerable and solid contribution towards development of this country. We seem sometimes to forget in our tendency sometimes to be adversarial and be critical. We ignore history as an elementary student of history. As I said before, it is no secret of my criticism of Dr. But let us not forget that it was Dr. Rowley in 2010, when he became leader of the opposition, that brought the PNM team back together, won 2 elections, wrote off a debt of $4.1 million. Malaysia House was about to be taken over by the bank. It was Dr. Rowley who successfully negotiated the energy revenues that has increased our revenues, as just said by call members in the parliament, in excess of 18 billion. It was the PNM led by Dr. Rowley that renegotiated with the powers, and when I say the powers, these energy stars of the world, they increased royalty and revenue to the country. It was Dr. Rowley that recovered that $1 billion that was used to complete the highway to Point Fountain. So everything about Dr. Rowley.
If I may, Ferdy, it was Dr. Rowley who led Little Trinidad and Tobago through the first, this global influenza called COVID.
Oh, certainly. I mean,
and to the point where the World Health Organization and other institutions recognize him and Trinidad and Tobago, his leadership.
And congratulate the government.
Correct.
In addition to that, the very parliament that is sitting now for years was unoccupied. It was Dr. Rowley and Judy Cott that reconstructed that parliament that they are now occupying. So sometimes in our tendency to be, we lost the election. I personally held Dr. Rowley responsible, but he alone was not responsible. There are others in there who, had they performed or had they responded responsibly to their duties, we might have lost, but we might not have lost by the margins we lost. So though I am not prepared to put the full responsibility. As a matter of fact, Darian, in 1986, when we lost 33-3, the worst defeat in the country, the Women's League, when Chambers tendered his resignation, I don't know if you remember that.
Yes, I do.
They called on him to reconsider, and he said it is irrevocable.
Yes.
And the Women's League had a celebratory function for him. We in the PNM, I have it. We cannot be that ungrateful. I will continue if it's and when it is possible to criticize Dr. Rowley. But we can't some of the remarks being used there by senior members of the party. At this time, I don't think it's helping the party. And I said it before, I repeat it. The party is bigger than any individual. Dr. Rowley has gone. By whatever process, however you feel about the process he used to go, that now is gone. We have a responsibility to honor him for what he did. History is about negatives and about positive. And as Professor Ryan said about Dr. Williams, he was not perfect, but he left the country in a better position than he met. And I can say, I'm sitting here listening to Colin Imbert, who I have also criticized, but who continues to be one of our most exemplary parliamentarians. And he is making several references by the international financial institution, the IMF, the World Bank, Standard & Poor's, etc., about the state of the economy, which completely contradicts.
Yes, you're correct.
Some of the views expressed that they run the economy into the ground and so we have a responsibility. And even at this advantage, I hold myself available to assist the younger members of the party.
Freddie, because of time, and we run out of time, I want to ask you something. I don't want this to pass. This morning, we in Trinidad and Tobago and the PNM saw a letter published by Mr. Michael Seals that he has resigned from the advisory committee. And what are your thoughts on that letter? Have you read it?
Well, from what I read, it was sort of coded. And the impression I got is that there was something in there that he was not satisfied with. And in order, as he codedly expressed, to protect him, he resigned. So obviously, I don't know the facts. I don't know the answer, which he did not state. But I can tell you that somebody like Michael Seals, former senior police officer, respected police officer.
He was also president of the Social and Welfare Committee.
That ought to be a source of concern to the leadership of the party. And, and there should be some response. It is a source of concern when somebody at that level publicly expresses the opinion of Michael Seals. I recall the 1996 election, and it is important before I come to it, the Glenda Morin report of the 1996 election.
Yeah.
Get a copy of that and read it.
Before you go on, or before we close, there are a number of letters that have been written to the General Secretary raising concerns about the elections of the General Council, and Chinwalin wrote. There were letters written by ordinary members like Shea Barkley. There were letters written of concerns by Farai Masaisai, raising concerns about the election process. But none of those letters to the General Secretary, but none of those letters have been responded to thus far.
I make no apology. The General has a responsibility. If somebody, particularly the status of Mr. Chinwa, Mayor of Port of Spain, or one of the senior members of the party, written to you, expressing concern about a procedure, your responsibility is to respond to that. I heard something at a meeting Saturday night. The General Secretary said that his former campaign manager and chairman deserted him and jumped, joined the UNC. And I suppose up to now I've heard nobody asked him why. I don't know why. But he said it. He said my campaign manager and former chairman jumped ship and went to the UNC.
But to the best of my knowledge, he wasn't the chairman of the constituency when he went across. He was removed.
He was a former chairman.
Yeah.
But he said he jumped ship, and I would have expected somebody in the party, tell us. I don't know. I certainly would like to know why somebody at that level, campaign manager, I was a former campaign manager, I'm a former chairman of a constituency. And if I jump ship, I would say why I jump ship. Well, he has a responsibility to the party to tell them why the man jumped ship. If it's just a betrayal, an act of credibility, and so on. But my major concern is the leadership has a responsibility, particularly the new political leader, to change the course. It is about unification. It's about restructuring the party, bringing all hands on deck. And the way they are proceeding, to me, is creating more enmity than unity.
Fudi, we are at 6 o'clock, and I want to thank you for your time. I appreciate it as usual, and I assure you, we will be speaking going forward for a much longer period after this internal election.
Darren, I'm always available, and I will tell it as I see it. I don't always have to be right.
Correct. Thank you very much, Fudi. Appreciate it. That was Mr. Fudi Ferreira, founding member of the People's National Movement, expressing his views and concerns as we lead up to the internal elections of the People's National Movement. I want to say this, because I was not here on Monday and Tuesday, and I had a lot to say, I'm happy for the opportunity today. And while I'm sitting here, a thought came to my mind. Should I come on radio tomorrow afternoon? My bosses might want to consider if I ask, since I was out for 2 days. They have a holiday tomorrow, and if there's no scheduled events on radio, I may consider it. Just consider it. I just thought I'd share that with you. Thanks. Thank you very much for your listening, for your messages. And well, we didn't have any calls because of the circumstances today. But thank you all very much. I want to ask you all to have a very good long weekend. Please be safe. Please be vigilant for whatever you are doing over this long weekend. Please be safe and be vigilant, and do have a great long weekend.
Alicia Legere, candidate for welfare officer. Service, compassion, commitment. Alicia Legere's political journey is deeply rooted in grassroots service, commitment to people-centered development, and an unwavering passion for the People's National Movement. Born and raised in Couva North, Alicia began her political activism as a young member of the Couva North Youth League, where she quickly stood out for her dedication, leadership potential, and genuine love for public service. Her political aspirations took flight in 2010 when she boldly offered herself as a candidate in the local government election, representing the then area of Edinburgh-Carlson Field. Since then, Alicia has worn many hats within the Couva North constituency executive, having served as youth officer, welfare officer, women's league chairman, and currently the constituency secretary. Her commitment extends beyond the constituency, as she serves as a proud member of the PNM General Council, where she continues to advocate for the needs of grassroots members, with a focus on welfare, inclusion, and organizational strengthening. Alicia's heart for people is also reflected in her community work. She presently serves as a social welfare board member at the Victoria Local Board, helping to support vulnerable citizens and ensure equitable access to social services. Her extensive experience in election campaigns highlights her organizational strength and strategic thinking. She has served as campaign manager for the St. Mary's Carlson Field candidate in the 2023 local government election, election agent during both the 2016 local government and the 2020 general elections. Through these roles, Alicia has proven herself to be a reliable, grounded, and forward-thinking member of the PNM family. As a grassroots foundation member of the party, Alicia understands the heartbeat of the people. Her leadership style is shaped by compassion, discipline, and an unshakable belief in the party's founding principles. Now, Alicia Legere offers herself once again, this time as welfare officer, to serve with purpose, humility, and a renewed vision to uplift the members of the People's National Movement. Vote Alicia Legere for welfare officer. People's National Movement. Service, compassion, commitment.
Thank you very much, Pelas.
And what position you're going for?
Okay, thank you very much, Pelas Warrior. And let me say pleasant good evening to all your listeners in the Gael. As you've indicated, as you've introduced me, I am Malika Blair, and I'm vying for the position of Assistant General Secretary of the People's National Movement. Upon reflecting on the political health of our party at this juncture, I have decided to heed the clarion call that was issued by our dear political leader-elect, Mrs. Penelope Beckles-Robinson, when she visited the Claxton Bay constituency, of which I am a member, on Thursday, the 29th of May. She issued a call for all those members who believe that they have a valued contribution to make to the party at this time as we go through this very difficult process, because we are in opposition, and it's not, being in opposition is not a glamorous thing, to step out and contribute to the rebuilding process. And I believe that I have a proven track record of service to my party, having been a member for some 27 odd years, and having served myself as a local government representative, having served as the youngest deputy mayor of the city of San Fernando, having served my community in various sporting and cultural organizations, that I have a very valuable contribution to make as do so many others in our party. But during this time, it takes people who are really committed, dedicated, and willing to dig in the trenches to restore and reclaim the trust of its members and take our party forward. I believe that I can best serve in the position of Assistant General Secretary, giving that much needed assistance to the General Secretary and by extension, all party officers as we execute the new vision of our dear political leader, history in the making, as she is the first female political leader elect of our party and by extension, first female opposition leader, represented by the People's National Movement, of course. And more than that, as someone who has been deeply rooted in her community, always interacting with the grassroots, I believe that if we are truly honest, that this is a clear sentiment being echoed by party members throughout the length and breadth of our country, that connection has been absent for quite some time. And I believe that through my role, not merely looking at it as an administrative one, but a critical connector to the membership of the party as we disseminate our information from the party's perspective. We need to connect with our roots. We need to allow members' voices to not only be heard and felt, but to be acted upon. And as the main engine room of the party, as it were, it is incumbent upon the officers who hold this position discharge of their duties with the highest level of integrity, trust, transparency, and accountability. And for these reasons, I believe that I am the best woman for the job.
Let me ask you this question. Being that you were the youngest mayor of San Fernando and you worked under two mayors, basically, because I would have listened to you down in Moruga, and I said to myself, but how come you not on this so-called political leader slate? How come? And you have served the party at that high level. You are intelligent, you know what you're about. How come you were not called to serve by the political leader to be part of a quote-unquote team?
Well, I'll tell you something. That is not a question that I can answer. But I'll say this, because as party members, sometimes we believe that we must be called upon to do something. And as I've indicated throughout my presentations to several constituencies, for the past 10 years, I really adopted a mentorship role for younger persons in the party, younger, fresh, new local government representatives, because I believe I possess a wealth of experience. I was even honored to be to serve as the campaign manager for the councillor for Koke Taruba in the last local government election, a seat that was closely contested. And were we not victorious, the People's National Movement would not have held on to the corporations in Trinidad. And by extension, we would not have been able to return, regain our prowess in the city of San Fernando. So, as a member with a wealth of experience, and there are so many others like me who choose to serve in the background, it is really incumbent upon us to really stand up, step out, put our shoulders to the wheel and show our mettle and allow the membership to judge us based on our merit as we present ourselves and offer ourselves for service. And interestingly, it really nudged me when that clarion call was made by our leader. I said, you know, a lot of people are hurting and expressing their hurt because it's a very difficult period for a lot of us as members of the party. Being in opposition is not glamorous. But instead of sitting in the back and on the sidelines and criticizing what has happened, though I believe that we must examine scientifically the reasons why we are in this position. It is incumbent upon those of us who are brave enough and willing to dig into the trenches to let ourselves be known to the rest of the membership of the party and be that beacon of hope and allow the leadership to notice us so that we ourselves can serve at the next level in the party. The PNM, we possess a wealth of talent and expertise in our party. And I'm not only merely talking about in academia, because I can tell you that academics and the fancy titles and letters alone will not make you successful if you don't know how to treat with the common man on the ground, if you are not able to articulate their grievances at that level, if you are not able to speak the language of the youth. And we are in a period where we have to attract back into our fold the some 100,000 odd persons who chose to withhold their vote. Now, I am very encouraged by that because it means that they have not left the party, but they chose to express their disapproval in a very telling way. And it is critical in these internal elections that we elect persons who will reflect a fresh and new mandate. Because it simply cannot be business as usual. We cannot simply recycle and repackage the old and slap on a new slogan and tell us that, hey, this is fresh and new. There are reasons, many reasons why we are in this position, and we must face the hard truths. So I am saying that personally, I have decided to count myself in very proudly as one of the 51 candidates who have offered themselves to serve. And I am presenting myself to you to critically examine me and others and make that choice. Because we represent the future of the party. We are on the cusp of celebrating 70 years of existence. We have a very rich legacy. And I can tell you that if we only return to the tenets of this great constitution that we possess in our party, one of the richest documents that we possess in the Caribbean, I dare say, we will be on the road to reclaiming our party, restoring our party, and ensuring that we return to governance on or before 2030.
How many persons are going up for the position of Assistant General Secretary?
For this position, there are only two persons, the incumbent, Mrs. Patricia Alexis, and myself.
So, let me ask you this question. Would you be able to work with persons who did not or may have fallen down on the job in terms of what we call they fail in certain departments, would you be willing to work with those persons? Or would you call on the leader to make the changes and say, hey, you know what? I don't think this person is competent to continue the mandate. Would you be able to do that?
Listen, at the end of the day, yes, we are in the process of an internal election. But at the end of the day, we are one party. And our members possess various strengths and weaknesses. And as members of a party, of an institution, of an organization, it is incumbent upon us to have teamwork and unity. And me offering myself for service is not a demonstration of not acknowledging the successes of the past. But as we transform, we must physically demonstrate that and recognize that there must be a passing of the baton. Because we all are standing on the shoulders of those who came before us. Our founding fathers and mothers, the late great Dr. Eric Williams. So it is not to erode what has transpired in the past, but it's to build upon it and move forward. And let us face the facts. I didn't say it, but our dear political leader-elect did confess that many officers fell down on the job for one reason or another. Now, there is something called institutional strengthening. Now, if we are really serious about rebuilding the party, we have to draw in on the successes of the past. We have to critically analyze what did not work. And in saying so and in analyzing this, I would be more than willing to work with anybody who is really serious and committed to the task of rebuilding the party, of standing on the principles, aims, and objectives as all outlined in our constitution. We cannot allow ourselves to move forward with old baggage. We must face that reality. And if there are those among us who cannot share in that vision, well, then I dare say that it will not be healthy for us to encourage that type of behavior that is at variance with where the party needs to go. So I'm saying that in all my life of service, it has been about teamwork. It has been about networking. It has been about drawing on the strengths of our very diverse existence. But if in fact your goals and objectives are at variance to that common vision, then that cannot be tolerated.
Well, but if I must agree with one of the persons on the chat room, and very actually, you're good. I like how you're being politically correct in certain things. You know what? You know what? Probably don't talks and ways, but you are right. If the political leader did say some of them fell down on the job, then but let me get to the questions. Let me get to the question what people are asking. So this question is: some members have lamented that party groups, the way they are structured, now have become obsolete and disconnected. Right, they have become obsolete and disconnected. What ideas do you have about improving the way party groups operate currently? So let me read it over again. Let me read it over because apparently I made a little a little mistake in one word that they try to put in here. So some members have lamented that party groups, the way they are structured, now have become obsolete and disconnected. What ideas do you have about improving the way party groups operate currently?
Okay, very good question. Now, the party group is the foundation of our party. And who or what is the party group? The party group comprised of you and me. It's foot soldiers, it's members within the particular polling divisions of your constituency. So the party group, while some may use the term loosely, and we may say, well, who is this or what is this elusive group? It is the foundation of our party, and we must examine the organizational structure of the party. Now, I do not, as party members, one cannot deny that at times we have party groups that exist just on paper. And I remember a time way back when, not so long ago, when I first started my active participation in the party, some 25 years ago, that the party groups were very vibrant, that from time to time you would have members of the national executive visiting party groups, that community events would have been arranged and operated by the party groups. Now, I do not think that party groups have become obsolete, but in some ways, some members have found that we simply just create party groups for the purpose of electing a particular executive of a constituency. And we must move away to that. And this is why I say we must go back to our moorings, in that from the party group, and it's very important and instructive in terms of how our party is set up. The structure is very robust. But I think what is happening now, we need to find new ways of connecting with persons in our communities. We have to, in our meetings, must not be about the reading of the minutes, must not only be about the strict formula of an agenda in a meeting. We can make it fun. You can play games, you can make it educational. And by this, we would need all hands on deck. And by that, I mean, we really need party officers, those who have been elected in the various positions, elections officer, field officer, and I'm talking about not just at the national level, but at the constituency level, that you really have persons performing their duties in their various roles. Because this is not a one-man or a one-woman show. So if you have, you generate community interest by the activities of the party group, then you would find that members of a community will say, hey, this group is doing something positive here. I would like to align myself or realign myself to this entity. But what we have found within recent times, that party groups simply have not been functioning for one reason or another. Separate and apart from the national executive, in many instances, the executive and the constituencies were far removed from the party groups. And so it is not surprising that we had this breakdown in our party, and hence one of the reasons why we have found ourselves in this position, because we went into a battle with very little foot soldiers, right? Party groups. So I want to suggest, and it's very simple, we go back to our basics. We have to go back to, and it doesn't have to be fancy. Yes, we live in a a new age and we are modernizing the way we do business, but nothing can beat that one-on-one interaction, that one-to-one interaction. People must feel connected once again as you outline your aims and goals. We must get buy-in to our aims and objectives once again. And that is one of the reasons why I, as a young woman, I joined the party, because I believed in the ideologies set out by our founding fathers and mothers. So I'm saying that it is not that we have to get too scientific about it. It is going back to our basic moorings of being creative in our communities. And this is the true purpose of a party group, the foundation of the party, creating spaces where we can encourage a skill bank. We have sporting activities, and these programs will lend itself to a regrouping of our members, and hopefully this can reverberate throughout the country and we can find our way back on track.
Well, let me give you the next question one time, because they're coming in back to back here. Question, because we have some questions, trust me. And I'm glad that you all did it in Moruga, and I realized that in Tobago, that they had question and answer all of a sudden on the other fleet. So they have introduced that now. Oh, she got cut off. Okay. Probably somebody must be calling her phone. But this is the way you get it right here. And let me tell you something. Imagine it. They can't talk politics these days because there's so much to talk about. We just waiting on Miss Blair to come back in. Let's wait on Miss Blair. So let's take a little break, and all right, so she is back. All right, so she is back. Let me just bring her on stage.
I'm sorry about that.
All
Something
right.
happened tonight.
Yeah, no problem. It is happening, trust me. In technology, it does happen. And that's why this question here is, we hear a lot about the ground. Yet for some, this ground is an elusive creature. How would you describe the ground? And do you think it needs to be redefined? Let me read it again. We hear a lot about the ground. So you're hearing a lot about the ground. Yet, for some, this ground is an elusive creature. How would you describe the ground? And do you think it needs to be redefined?
Well, I believe I would have addressed that in my previous response. And I don't believe that it is an elusive entity. What probably has happened is that we have probably moved away from focus on the ground. The ground is people like you and me, the common members of the party. The ground is what makes the party. And we must not see ourselves as separate and apart from the executive or the leadership of the party. And I personally, I have a different view where that is concerned, because I understand what servant leadership is. So I do not see myself as a ground member as separate and apart from maybe the liberations officer, the general secretary, because yes, organizations have a structure, but I am a valued member, and without me, there is no organization. And I believe as members, we must share in the responsibility of upholding the party and keeping people accountable as they discharge their duties. What was the second part of so that in essence, there isn't a separation between the ground and the executive of the party. It's simply a question of us going through the democratic process and examining each candidate on their own merit and simply electing these persons who have offered themselves to serve on the leadership of the party. As any thriving and successful organization, there must be an organizational structure. But I guess because over the last period, we have experienced that disconnect that many believe that the ground is an elusive group. Oh, the ground is us. The ground is you. The ground is me. The common member of the party that make this party as strong as it is. What was it? There was a second part to the question.
Right. Well, it was asking, do you think that the role should be redefined?
I don't think that the role should be redefined per se, but we need to find more creative and innovative ways in the way we do things. We are in the year 2025. What may have worked in 1956 certainly may not be applicable or work for our time. We are in a different era. And as the person who asked the question, with the introduction of technology, in my interaction with young people, some of them express the view that, it looks boring. They may not just want to come to a meeting to approve minutes. The fact is, we really do have to change the way we do things. And as a couple of things I've mentioned before, this can be done through organizing community events. One of the other candidates who is vying for the position of education officer was suggesting that, you can come up with innovative games through which our members can be educated on the rich legacy of our party's history. Family Feud. You can organize Scrabble the PNM way. So I believe that we do not have to go so far out of the box, but indeed our systems need to be modernized to keep up with the times. And I can say in particular, in my role as Assistant General Secretary, as a key part of the Secretariat of the movement, our systems have to be digitized and modernized. We can boast about our new headquarters, which I believe must be commended and something that should be celebrated and we all should be proud of. But that is the physical structure. What about the systems that are needed to ensure that how we do business is efficient with our members? We ought to be at a time where we should be able to access our membership list online. We should simplify the process and make it easy just by at your fingertips to become a member of the party. We have to do this if we are to modernize and move forward. We are in the 21st century, but I'm also saying that there are traditions that we can preserve. We only need to reconnect with each other. really go down to basics in terms of seeing what our role is in our communities so that it becomes second nature. And this is how my presence in politics started. I was not focused on being a local government representative, but it came quite natural to me because I was already involved in my community and through culture as a member of a steel band movement. Even I was very much involved in athletics in my younger days. So I have this sense of community and the willingness to improve my community. So service becomes natural, nation building becomes natural. And when we expose our young people and include the elders, because there are many of them who possess that wealth of experience and knowledge, and this is something that in the party we must do more of. We find that in our constituencies, we're ready to remove the older heads, but they possess some of the real values that we need to go back to. So it is really honoring the past while bridging the gap with the new in order to take our party forward and attract again the persons who would have found themselves disillusioned and despondent at this time. It really takes going back to basics.
And let me do this. Well, you basically answer I don't know, like you must be seeing some of the questions in the chat room. So you're answering them one after the other. So let me do this follow-up question here because we have some. Oh God, something happened just now there again, and so.
Hearing me?
Right. So we back on track. So let's go. So we have limited time. So let's go now. Question. You mentioned you are involved in mentorship. Your role would be involved in the process of candidate nominations. How will you use your mentorship skills / training to groom the best for 2030? Let me read it again. You mentioned you are involved in mentorship. Your role would be involved in the process of candidate nominations. How will you use your mentorship skills / training to groom the best for 2030?
Okay, so we're talking in terms of the next general election, but there are two elections
before that.
Yeah, so we are right on the cusp of the THA elections, and perhaps an early local government election, but in any event, it will be before 2030. Now, I am not here to just speak empty rhetoric. There is a process within the party by which candidates are selected. Of course, at the constituency level, and by extension, once the approval is given at that level, they face the screening committee, the leadership of the party. Now, what I can tell you in my community of Marabella, and I operate via the Pointe-a-Pierre constituency, now known as the Claxton Bay constituency, there's a team in terms of, even now we are engaging in that process of us trying to identify persons with that leadership capabilities, persons who are known in the community. So I don't think it's not a role for just one individual, but of course, the potential candidates as such, they have to want to enter into this arena of politics, because what I do as a young woman, I would have had peculiar experiences, and we cannot bury our heads in the sand. Politics is not for the faint-hearted. And I like to draw on my own personal experience as to how one can navigate through the process, because it's a very demanding job. It can be demanding on your family, your personal life, etc. So I'm saying that training must be done, of course, in public speaking. You must be able to articulate the grievances and the views of the burgesses or citizens that you represent. You must understand some level of diplomacy, even at a minor level in terms of, you know, the protocol. But more than that, which is most fundamental, is that you must have that willingness and passion to serve. For without that, that is the foundation and the basic. We can talk about the niceties, but it must begin with your burning desire to represent and to serve your community. It is a thankless job, but it's one that is important in terms of the structure of our society and how we do business, how we deliver the goods and services to our communities. So, having accepted that you are willing to serve your community and so on, all the other things come into play, and it's simply a process of tapping into those who have served before and those who may be serving, and imparting the knowledge from our perspective while combining some of the new issues that representatives of today may face.
Question. And there are about four more questions basically. Do you think that the executive was connected to the general membership? And who was in charge? And who was in charge in the executive disconnect from the ground? Let me read it again. Do you think that the executive was disconnected to the general membership? And who was in charge in the executive disconnect from the ground?
You're really putting me on the hot seat. Well, let me say this. Yeah. We have our party structure. The general council is comprised of representatives from all 41 constituencies. And it is really the job of our representatives on general council to represent the views presented to the constituency from the party group. So it goes to the constituency executive, to our general council representatives, and then to the leadership of the party as that general council body. As we are in the season of facing our hard truths, while at present I am not a member of the general council, so I cannot directly speak to what transpires or what transpired in general council within the recent past, but I must say that this is a sentiment that has been echoed throughout, that for some time members felt that their views were not being listened to. They felt that they were not being heard. And I don't think that any one person in the executive would be responsible for that wholly and solely. There's something called collective responsibility, because I can tell you, in meetings, we have to, as the leadership, you have to create that space where members feel that they are free to speak and that their views will be felt, heard, and acted upon. And many persons have expressed the view that they came to General Council and made presentations about the health of their particular constituencies, and it fell on deaf ears. Now, it's not for me to say that any one individual or group of persons were directly responsible. Hello, are we there? Are we still here? Hello? For some reason, I'm not seeing.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
I do apologize for that.
Oh, that's quite okay. So I was saying that it's not for me to say or to call out any one individual or group of individuals, but I'll say this. I am not in the business of perpetrating the division in the party. I don't believe that it is healthy. While I understand and I respect, and I will encourage that we must have free and frank discussions about what has transpired, I don't believe that we should be dwelling on the blame game. Yes, we understand that, and members have been saying that their voices have not been heard. I cannot identify any one person who may have been responsible for not listening. As a party, we have to face the fact that along the way, some mistakes were made, and we have to learn from them. For in the absence of that, we are doomed to repeat the same mistakes. And sure, go ahead.
Question. Somebody's asking, what was the General Secretary doing all the time?
Well, that is a question for the General Secretary to answer. I cannot answer for him, but I can say that this is the importance of looking at the candidates who are offering themselves for election this upcoming Sunday. For the General Secretary is like the CEO of the party, and his core role and function is to ensure that the various arms of the party is working like a well-oiled machine. Political organizations exist to win elections and to form the government. And if as CEO of that organization, your various units and arms are not working properly, then it is a reflection on your stewardship. And at this juncture, where we see a number of incumbents have offered themselves for re-election, we, the membership, have to make the choice if we are willing and happy with the trajectory upon which the party has been going, or do we believe that a fresh mandate with new competent individuals are needed to restore and rebuild, and not just have the old with a new brand and slogan claiming to be the new? If we do not learn from what has transpired I dare say that we may find ourselves repeating some of the same mistakes of the past.
Question. What do you think of the narrative that the PNM is a party for one demographic, a Black people party?
I do not subscribe to that view because one of the principles and tenets of the party is interracial solidarity. And we live in a cosmopolitan country, and I dare say that one cannot deny that from its inception, all races found a place in the People's National Movement. And I think that is a narrative that should be discouraged, because we cannot in one breath boast of being a diverse country, rich in culture, cosmopolitan nation, and a party by extension where all races find a space and then push this agenda of race. That is very, very dangerous. And the result of that can only lead to division. And sometimes we may, by adopting that approach, we may be losing out on some of the talents of our people who want to be a part of our party. So I personally do not subscribe to that. And the record will show that from our party's inception, we had members of the both major races being at the foundation of the party. So I do not subscribe to that view, and it is a narrative that I don't encourage.
Let me ask you the final question here. Do you think that the loss and trauma in the last general election was a deliberate, own rule negligence?
A deliberate?
Let me read it again. Do you think that the loss and trauma in the last general elections was a deliberate own goal?
A deliberate own goal.
Negligence.
Listen, as a party, we need to scientifically analyze what transpired in the last general election. Yes, we are hurt as party members, and many members and different voices have been saying many things, but I believe that it would be reckless of us to use terms loosely and lay blame where it may be misplaced. I believe that an independent professional body must conduct a good analysis of what transpired scientifically, coupled with, so that will form the data, which is very, very important, by which we can measure our results scientifically, coupled with, of course, the natural expressions of the members of the party in terms of how they connect and how they feel a part of the organization, which would have played a significant role as well. I cannot say if it was deliberate. This is a talk that has been bandied about, but I can't believe that anyone wouldn't really enjoy deliberately becoming in opposition where hundreds of thousands of jobs would be lost. And it will really impact on the entire membership of your party. I think to think that would really be a slap in the face to all of us. So I cannot see, while I've heard the sentiment being expressed, I think that that is going down a very dangerous road, we need to measure the facts scientifically. Some of the expressions are really coming out of emotion, but we must be responsible. We must remain respectful, and we must not encourage banter that will not redound to the benefit of the further growth and success of our party.
Well,
In my humble view.
Well, somebody say Mr. Wayne Gibson is asking a question to ask you, what made people stay home and not vote?
Sorry?
He's asking a question, what made people stay home and not vote?
Well, I'm saying that this is what we have to analyze now. It can be the whole discourse of persons really expressing that their displeasure with the leadership of the party, the leadership of the government. And this is what I'm saying, that we have to really analyze scientifically. We have to get into the communities, and when I'm saying that, I mean that it must be commissioned, an independent body must be commissioned with finding the facts. We must go on a fact finding, and I don't like to use the word post-mortem, because you perform post-mortems on something that has already been dead, and our party is far from that. We are alive and well. But an analysis must take place. But as party members, we must confess that there were mistakes along the way. There are decisions that were taken that members feel were not in our best interests. There are situations that we believe was not handled with the greatest of care and were not handled in the traditional ways that we know how. And so we talk about the ground not being felt. Well, I guess the ground made a very, very significant finger, the withholding of the finger, to tell that very story of not accepting what has been happening within the government and by extension the party. But I dare say that this is just me as an ordinary member speaking. It is devoid of any scientific analysis, and I believe that this must be done as part of the rebuilding process. If we are to really find ourselves back on track, we cannot just go on the basis of old talk and emotions, right? But and undoubtedly, a lot of the sentiments being expressed by our members and the very ground must be taken on board, but it must be measured in terms of to what extent did this impact on that, as the case may be.
And final question. We can't take no more questions after this. This is it. And the question is, if after 3-party analysts and members' feedback, you do indeed find that individuals were instrumental as Assistant General Sec, do you think they should be sanctioned or expelled? Let me read it again. If after 3-party analysts and member feedback, you do indeed find that these individuals were instrumental as Assistant General Secretary, do you think that they should be sanctioned or expelled? So that would be leading up from a question that would have been asked in terms of people being instrumental in undermining the party, basically.
Okay. Well, that will not be a question for simply me as the Assistant General Secretary. In the in our party, we have something called a disciplinary committee, where instances of that requires disciplinary measures will be brought before the committee, where all the facts can be presented, and thereafter the committee will make its recommendation, present it to the central executive, and then a decision will be made. So I'm saying that that will not be a responsibility or a role for me per se, but it is clearly outlined in the Constitution how matters, disciplinary matters, are dealt with. However, I must say that in this, we have found ourselves at this juncture, and if we are really serious of transforming this party, all hands need to be on deck, and we cannot continue to spew hate and old talk at each other. At the end of the day, the party's image is being affected. And as members, we need to be responsible in our discourse. As members, we are the propagandists of the party. So if we are in a period where some 100,000 members have chosen to withhold their vote and express in a very telling way their displeasure with how things have been going within our party, we have to be careful about the things that we say and we put into the space and the atmosphere. We, at a time that where we need healing, we need forgiveness, while we must not be blinded by those who have their own personal agendas, but I'm saying that we must allow this process of healing and forgiveness and rebuilding to take its course. And I believe that, with social media, it has given everyone a voice, a public voice. And I guess we are free to express ourselves and our opinions publicly, but we must be responsible. Because if we are saying that we are to present ourselves as once again being a credible team who can form a government, then I dare say there are some discussions that must not be in the public. As a young politician having served in the city, I remember we would have our caucuses behind closed doors. We can agree to disagree. You vent, you bring it, but when we walk out of that room, there's something called collective responsibility, and each member, we hold to that. Even if you personally would have not been in agreement, at the end of the debate or the discussion, there's something called collective responsibility, and we must be responsible custodians and propagandists of our party. And to do otherwise would suggest that we are not ready to rebuild. We are not ready to transform. We are not ready to take this party forward to its rightful place. Because I dare say the country needs the People's National Movement. We have a rich legacy of which we should all be proud. There are many success stories. The true development of our Twin Island Republic, one cannot deny its policies and programs were in fact instituted by the policies of the PNM. And we cannot be appearing to adopt the traditions of others opposed to us. We are held to a higher standard because in the past, we've conducted ourselves in a particular way. We are not perfect by any means. We are different human beings with different ideals and aspirations. But if we have come together as a common unit, as a common goal, with a common goal, and we go back to the aims and objectives and ideals of the constitution of our party, then I believe that there is hope and we will achieve our goal of reclaiming the seat of governance in Trinidad and Tobago.
Well, any final words? Because the people in the chat room seems, well, one or two of them kind of realize that you're talking, they try to be politically correct.
Well, what is being politically correct? We have to be responsible, you know?
Well, we waited to hear what they're saying. Well, some of them agree and they do like what they're hearing, and they're saying that they will be voting. They're coming out. They're going to be voting, and but your final words before we wrap up.
Well, thank you very much, and I must thank you for allowing this platform for independent candidates to have a space to face the public and to share their vision and what they will be bringing to the party. I want to encourage members of the audience that there is hope. The mere fact that so many of us have decided that in this critical and difficult time, we are willing to step forward and contribute to the further growth and development and success of our party in a manner that reflects the true ideals of the party is one that must be commended, and we must continue to support each other. It will take all hands on deck. No one person will have all the answers, but we have to foster that unity, that teamwork. We have to work with our leaders and develop that camaraderie and have buy-in. And members, you must continue to hold the leadership accountable. And I know that this ensuing term would be a difficult one. You would be expecting officers to go way beyond the call of duty. I am saying that I, for one, committed to the task, and I am willing to dig in the trenches. I am also willing to accept constructive criticism, for no one individual possess all the answers. It will take a team effort. And on Sunday, the 22nd of June, I ask you to lend me your vote. Lend me your vote. It is very critical that we elect an executive that reflects the restoration that we so believe that we need. And I believe that your vote will not be misplaced by voting for Malika Blair as your next Assistant General Secretary.
Well, we want to thank you, Ms. Malika Blair, and we wish you all the best on Sunday. Well, it's Sunday.
Yeah.
Sunday at the polls, and people will be coming out and voting. So, best of luck, and
Thank you.
people are giving thumbs up. They're clapping. They're saying competent. Yes, competent. You see plenty of them now still come out and make all the time we have the opportunity to thing. They're now coming out to make the to say, well, okay, what it is they want to see. But we will be, so thanks again.
Tova Lynn Sandy, candidate for General Secretary. Tova Lynn Sandy knows what it means to serve. From her earliest days as a youth officer in the Five Rivers Community Council to her tenure as local government counselor in the Tunapuna-Piarco Regional Corporation, her leadership has always been grounded in purpose, people, and principle.
guided by the belief that the leader's job is to make themselves obsolete. Tova has devoted her life to empowering others, building systems, amplifying unheard voices, and shaping communities that thrive. Beyond any single term or title, a qualified attorney at law with academic training in political science, law, and social work, she brings a rare blend of intellect, discipline, and heart to every space she enters. Whether as managing director of Estate Pro Solutions or as a judicial research counsel in the judiciary of Trinidad and Tobago, Tova has demonstrated the steady competence and strategic foresight required to get things done. But it is her grassroots heart that truly sets her apart. Years of advocacy with youth, NGOs, and village councils across St. George East have made her a trusted force for change. Tova enters this race not as part of a slate, but as a servant with a firm belief that she will be the bridge between the members on the ground and the voices and leadership entrusted with the ground's power. On Sunday, June 22nd, 2025 vote, Tova Lynn Sandy for PNM General Secretary. Your voice makes this party move.
See me, Eyo. So long you not see me, when you see me, I will take it away. So long you not see me, when you see me, I will take it away. So long you not see me. Woman said they were feeling me, promoter said they need me. To mash up the place, to rip up the place, soca music does kill me, and the power reveal me. Some woman claim that they dream me. I swear, I swear, I swear. So long you not see me, when you see me, I will take it away. So long you not see me, when you see me, I will take it away. I miss all the commotion and all the promotion and crossing the ocean and all the celebration and all my peers together at one location. I swear, I swear, I swear, I swear. So long you not see me, when you see me, I will take it away. So long you not see me. So long you not see me, when you see me, I will take it away. So long you not see me. So long you not see me. Woman said they were feeling me, promoter said they need me. To mash up the place, rip up the place, soca music and steal me. The power reveal me. Some woman said they dream me. I swear, I swear, I swear. So long you not see me, when you see me, so long you not, so long you not, so long you not see me. So long, so long, so long, so long, so long, so long, so long. I miss every Grenadian and all Vincentian and all them Belgian and all Jamaican and all Solution and all the islands. I swear, I swear, I swear, I swear, I swear, I swear. So long you not see me.
Right. So, Mr. Roger Boy, Mr. Roger is Roger, right? I think Roger Boy, right? So, Mr. Boy, tell us about yourself. Tell us about yourself and why you have chosen to go up for the position of General Secretary of the People's National Movement.
Well, I'm from the Sangre Grande area. I was born and raised in Sangre Grande. I went to school at Hillview College. Then I went to the university. I studied law and graduated as an attorney at law in 1990. Within 2 years' time, Mr. Manning came and encouraged me, to get involved in politics. And in 1992, I became one of the youngest chairman of a regional corporation in Trinidad and Tobago. I served there for 3 years, and thereafter he asked me, and the constituency asked me, based on all the sporting programs and all the community work I've been doing for decades, because we just love that. The community had asked, and the constituency at that time asked me to run for the seat as the member of parliament for Toko Manzanilla, which I did. And in 1995, I was successful by a margin of let's say about a couple hundred. So I went on to serve the constituency of Toko Manzanilla at the time, now Toko Sangre Grande, for approximately 4 consecutive terms, with the last term being the highest margin victory ever recorded in that area of about 6,000. So I took the margin of victory from a couple hundred to about 6,000. And one will ask, how did one do that? It was based on service to the people and respect to the people, and respect in particular to my executive and the membership of the PNM. And that allowed us to work hand in hand together and to grow the organization in the Sangre Grande region, in Toko Manzanilla region. I then was lucky that I was asked to serve as the Minister of Sport and Youth Affairs. And in 2002, I became the Minister of Sport and Youth Affairs for Trinidad and Tobago. And I oversaw certain landmark events like the Brian Charles Lara, making 400 runs and that sort of thing. And indeed, we were lucky to, based on hard work, proper planning, to take the country to the finals of the FIFA World Cup in Germany in 2006. I say this because I bring what I feel is my experience, my dedication, my hard work, my never say die attitude to the office of General Secretary. Because General Secretary is one of the most important posts in this organization, in a political party. A General Secretary comes like the CEO of the organization. He has to ensure that the institution is well-oiled. It functions at its best. And not only at headquarters, where we have to make sure that we have financing to start with, that the program, the database is properly digitized, that members' records, that accounting records, the operations of the political party is at its very best, not only at headquarters level, but also now in the constituencies, because you have 41 satellites, and each is a replica of the head. And all of these satellites, these constituencies with their party groups situated at every polling division, must be well serviced and must be functioning at its very best. So anytime an election is called, anytime, they will be prepared for any eventuality. And I must say so, that it is my intention to ensure that we service our party groups and our constituencies. I recall the late Martin Joseph. When he acted as General Secretary, for instance, I belong to my executive, and sometimes a party group member will have a problem. He will have a problem in Toko, for instance, and he will send that problem message of that irritant to his constituency executive, who in turn will write the GenSec, and the GenSec will communicate with the respective minister, and don't you know, within a week or two, the minister comes down to the area to see what the problem is, and at some point in time addresses the issue. You see, the constituency executive, the party group structure, the party itself acts as checks and balance, right, to the government ministers to ensure that they don't lose touch with the ground and that they service the ground properly. We want to bring back that structure. How do you do that? Because we have lost 104,000 people. Why? Because they felt that we lost touch with them. But They are there. They are there. And the constitution and the structure of the PNM allows for us to be in touch with the executive, right? With the government. So what do? We go back to basics. We go back to the constituencies. We go back to the people. We go back to the party group. And we start having training programs. We start working with them to raise funds. We start energizing them. We start inspiring them. So they will then now be operating at their very best. If each 41 satellites operate at its best, then the whole and the whole is digitized. You know, you have your membership list. You want to get your party card. In a moment's notice, you could get that. Now, once we have this operating at this maximum level, you find we can start rolling out things. You know, I was talking to a young lady, not a young lady, an elderly lady today, and she called me to pray with me. And she was giving me an experience that was very touching. She said, Mr. Boynes, you know, we in the party group, we raise funds, you know, they have so on to the bank, and we are so energized and whatnot. And you know what we do? We sometimes, you know, we have a raffle, you know, we do our thing and whatnot. And sometimes, whenever a child, for instance, has to write exams or has written the exam and passed the exam, they give a token, they give $100. So the party group has always been inspiring the ground where they are located. And we, I recall, we at the head office, and I must say we at the time, right, Martin, because I used to work with Martin at that time and what, they're giving him a lot of assistance and so on, and learning from him, of course. And what we used to do, we used to go around the constituencies and see who is doing what, and sometimes even give them some funding to join with them in whatever program they're running. And that used to inspire them. It used to ensure that the party group structure, you know, was second to none. And we used to encourage them to grow the party group structure. Now, one of the things of a general secretary is to maintain the contact with the different constituencies. He has to ensure that he works hand in hand with the election officer. He has to work hand in hand with the field officer. He has to work hand in hand with the welfare officer. And he has to work hand also with, I would say, the social media. Now, you have the elections officer, 41 of them. You have the field officer, 41 of them. You have social media. You have education. All of these, 41 plus the one on the executive. We will sit down and roll out a strategic development plan to see how we can roll out and help party groups in all 41 constituencies and strengthen the party group structure, strengthen the constituencies. How can we empower them to get into a business, utilizing the resources in each region? In Santoko, for instance, you're looking at fishing, you're looking at agriculture, you're looking at tourism. We can look at all of these things and work with our constituencies, work with our party group to empower them, to get them cracking. This is not rocket science. It can be done. And I recall in '95 when I became a member of parliament, and I actually went into opposition. And do you know, during that time in opposition, we worked so hard. We worked with the NGOs, we worked with the embassies. We got so much done for the people. People thought we were in government, and actually we were in opposition. The thing is, it is hard work. It is really, really hard work. But you have to make up your mind to do the hard work. And that is why, in terms of how I feel this is a full-time job. And I feel one must focus and dedicate oneself, right, to make sure that one can strengthen the organization, strengthen each region. Because once you're strong on the ground, nobody can defeat us. You know what it is? 104,000 people just say they're not coming out to vote. Some of the people, when I go throughout the length and breadth of this country, seeing constituents and that sort of thing, as we look to gather support for the 22nd of June, You know, some of the people, the membership, they say sometimes they give a call to one of the leaders in the organization, and they don't get a call back. You know, they feel embarrassed, they feel snubbed, and you know, we look. The only reason why we are here where we are is because of the members of the party group, members of our constituency. So we need to treat them better. We need to work with them. They love us and we love them, right? We need to stop bashing each other. I'm appalled listening to some of the campaign that I'm hearing. And I am saying on this program now, please stop it. This is our party. We are all family. Let us focus on what we can do for the people and for the membership. Let us focus on that, right? And I understand that, you know, we have embarked on several large projects like Balize House and that sort of thing and whatnot. Fine. Balize House will be completed, right? Regardless of whether who is General Secretary or who is in the chair, it's PNM money will fix that building, will finish and complete that building, right? Because we will find the resources. First of all, we have to find what is the state of play with that, and secondly, continue with its completion. We can start building from the floor alone. Let's finish one floor, open up a business there. We can have a museum, do tours. We can do like DC World and have a gift shop, you know, sell memorabilia. We have a rich history of the PNM. People want to learn about it. We can have a podcast going there. We could start having advertisements and whatnot. I mean, the PNM have a podcast with respect to Balize House. We can apply for a radio license, have a radio station, get ads going. We have to focus as a business. We have to focus business for that institution because we can no longer have finances controlling us. And this basically is an opportunity for us to listen to the ground. The ground has spoken. 104,000 people have spoken. We need to listen to them. And my plan basically is to put people first. People first. It never fails. And I, Roger Boynes, will be the next generals.
Let me answer this
People's National Movement come June the 22nd. And I am going to take night and day, right, to help in the rebuilding process of the People's National Movement.
Let me ask you this question, Mr. Roger Boynes. Now, House and Farm. Do you believe that it's the General Secretary alone is who had any play in terms of making sure that Balize House get off the ground, or is it the people and the membership who was a part and parcel of making sure that Balize get this new look, this new reform of where it is today?
Balize House doesn't belong to one individual. It never had, it never will. Balize House has been built because a culmination of people. 2 cents from a party group member is important. It doesn't matter how much money. Once they give their money, their funds, their heart, their love to build Balize House. Let me tell you something. We had a car raffle at one time. And you wouldn't believe, people from all party groups throughout Trinidad and Tobago contributed to that. So we all have contributed to the construction of Balize House, not one person. And Balize House belongs to all of us, not one person. And suppose that one person dies tomorrow.
Second
Balize House will
question.
continue, and it will. So I am saying here on this program that Balize House will be continued, will be completed, and it is going to be because the people will make it happen. Not one person. The people, the membership of the People's National Movement will complete Balize House.
Second question, and this comes from one of the chatters. Have you received an updated list of those eligible to vote, the names and the contact info?
Well, that is a very good question. I'm glad that that person has asked that question. Now, we were given a list of the membership list a few days ago. We have asked for the contact information to be placed on that membership list. What they in fact gave us was the names, the address, and that is it. I wrote 2 correspondents asking them, in the interest of fair play, in the interest of justice, I asked them to supply us with all the candidates with the contact numbers. Up to today, they have failed and they have refused to do so. But you know, yesterday, lo and behold, yesterday, one of the persons on a slate took a list, a membership list, a copy of a membership list, and gave it to one of their supporters to start calling people. Now, if you sneeze in the east, I will know about it. So I got a copy of that list that they have. And lo and behold, it has all the contact information on it. Phone number, every single thing. So one group have all the information, contact numbers to canvass and to contact members in preparation for the election June 22nd. And the rest of us do not have that information. That is totally wrong. It is unfair, and it cannot and must not be allowed. I shoot a correspondence to them today, this morning. I sent a letter to the Election Supervisory Committee. Yes, it's Father's Day, but I have to do the paperwork. So I realized I have to start doing general sec work. So I sent a correspondence to the Election Supervisory Committee and indicating the injustice of it, and also attaching a copy of the list we got with no information, and a copy of the list that the other side got with all the information for immediate attention and action. I gave them 24 hours, right, to correct this. Because at the end of the day, right, the PNM stands for morality. The PNM has acted we have a constitution, and how we have done our business has always been noble, not like now. Not like now. You see, if we have to concentrate on doing things the right way. The right way. Having your list prepared, having it done the right way, giving everybody the list with all the contact information, and not hiding it and giving it to one set of people. That is not the PNM way.
But let me ask you this question, Mr. Boynes. Let me ask you this question. What is different from your time to this time in terms of the party structure and how they behaving? What is different?
Let me tell you what is different. I could give you so many examples, but I would like to give you this one. We recently had a membership meeting in Sangre Grande, where we had about 250 persons there, and I was out front welcoming everybody as they came in. Everybody was socializing and that sort of thing. You know, there is a certain clique that has developed in this party now, a clique. And what I noticed, I saw all the clique and them in their car in the parking lot, waiting until the political leader comes into the meeting. when the political leader walks in, they then came out of their vehicles and walked with her, went up to the front, sat down. After the meeting finished, they left. That is not the PNM way. You get here early, you mix with everybody, you mix with the membership, you chat with them, you find out how they're going, you socialize with them. You too big for us up here? And that is wrong. You see, a lot of people haven't gone through party school. They haven't gone through and understand how we do things in this party. You know, it is about respect. We have to respect the people. The people are the ones that have us there. We must have an approach, not an elitist approach, but a people-first approach.
You talk about an elitist approach. Do you think that the current executive, well, the outgoing executive, do you think that many of them who sat there had an elitist approach to dealing with the public and dealing with the members?
Well, I am saying this. Last week, Saturday, we went to a meeting in Tunapuna, and we spoke with several of the members, including several of the councillors there. And that was one of the complaints. They felt that, you know, when they call on the phone, they didn't answer them, and they never got back to them. You know, they find, however, now that an election is looming, you know, if they call them, is one ring and they answer it. You know, so you know, these little things, you know, matter. Another person said that, okay, like after the meeting is finished, sometimes the persons are not wealthy. Sometimes they take a taxi, they last $1 to come and meeting. At the end of the meeting, if the meeting goes way into the night, sometimes all 9 o'clock or so, if it goes into the night and whatnot, you know, you don't have to just jump in your car and go back to your home and whatnot. You have to make sure that everybody gets home. The amount of trips we made trips all in the back of Mingo Road, all in the back there. We went up, you know, we made sure that everybody got home. And this, sometimes it's just the small things you do or you don't do that matters. And this elitist approach, you know, was something that caused us to have some problems. And I must say that Ms. Beckles, for instance, she's humble, and we all know this. She's humble, and you know, she listens, and with her and with this new executive that we will have, we will focus on the people with caring hands. We will listen to them, we will work with them, we will build with them, and we will build back this beautiful, great organization so that come 2030 or before, we will be back in office.
Let me ask you this question, Mr. Bones. Last night, there was rampant attacks on the last two leaders of the party. The former Prime Minister and the next former Prime Minister, and even the political leader. Well, the last political leader. Do you think that in an internal election, do you think that anybody supposed to be attacking the political leaders who would have served the party?
Now, one has to appreciate the doctrine of collective responsibility. When you sit in a cabinet or you sit in a meeting of caucus, you all make decisions together. You all stand by it. A real MP, a real person, stands by the decisions they all made. So to come now, after everyone agreed, to come now and start to make excuses And start to attack persons is not the right way. It is wrong and it must be stopped immediately. Now, when you really look and analyze, we still have to do a postmortem. But when you analyze what has taken place, you would realize that you cannot only blame, right, the past leaders. In fact, you should not do that. You should not do that. Because one has to ask himself, why is it that we lost so much seats? Why? Do you think the PNM just woke up, the PNM membership just woke up within a short space of time and decided not to come out and vote? If each person, each MP is servicing his constituency, then we would have had a different situation. Because sometimes you get caught up in focusing on the big buildings. Sometimes you get caught up in focusing on the big projects. Because there was a lot of work that was done in the Toko Sangre Grande constituency with the highway, the new highway, Elmina Clark Highway. A lot of paving take place, a lot of, the Valencia Old Road, the hospital. So there was a lot of work that was done. I'm not saying that our PR was the best. However, when it comes to the people, you must not be fighting with the people. You are in this game. Politics is a game of winning friends and influencing people. Right? I recall sometimes you feel as though people are unfair with what they ask you. Sometimes you feel that, it's as though you're working hard and sometimes you get abused time and time again. But hello, this is the work. I recall as member of parliament, I was servicing my constituents and that sort of thing. A lady came into the office and says that, Mr. Boynes, I want something from you. I said, well, what is it? How can I help you? She says, I have a rare problem that I need blood. And I need to get a pint of blood from you every month. That's what she said. I called my staff to hear this. So sometimes it is so unfair what they ask you for. But, you have to find a way to be kind to the person. Say, well, okay, look, we can talk to the blood bank and we can have a blood drive and we'll have it done and whatnot. It's how your approach to the people are. Your approach to go on a platform last night and attack the former leaders and whatnot. That is not the way. It is not the way. And they have to stop it. This is our party. Our party is class. Our party is respect. It's dignity. And we have to conduct ourselves in that manner. That's why I will never, you will never hear me saying anything about anybody. When we are here, we talk about the work. How do we build back the thing? And that is what it's all about. Putting people first, building back together.
Question, Mr. Boynes. And this comes from one of the chatters on the room. Atu. Why should the PNM be held to a higher standard when the UNC is engaged in a blood sport? They have excellent question.
Well, that's an excellent question because you see, you can't tell me because somebody is bad, I have to be bad too. No, right? The people have always felt that the PNM has been the one that has always taken care of them as a group. When Dr. Eric Williams was came into office and moved us to independence, and we started to move into the realm where we had free education and a number of things. We got our identity, right, away from the colonial masters. So we got our independence, we got our education. It was such a memorable thing, and the PNM has been in government for most of the time in the history of this country. The PNM has always rebuilt the country back, built back the economy after it has been raped. The PNM has always been there to come to the rescue of the people and the country. And it has done so before, it will do so again. So that is why the people have come to the conclusion that the party, that the true tried and tested party, the only true tried and tested party in Trinidad and Tobago is the People's National Movement. So we better get our act together now.
Let me answer this question. As a general secretary, does that give you the right to have a seat in the Senate? If, let me say, the government, let me say, like how the parties in opposition, does that give you a seat, an automatic right to be in the Senate?
Well,
as the general secretary of the party?
Well, over the years, a custom has come up to in order to assist with the payment of the salary of the GenSec. A decision to have him or her, as the case may be, as a senator was one of the solutions. But my take on this is, and I know, you know, this is out for debate. It's in the open forum, and my take on it is simply this: I believe that the GenSec should be a full-time job. He is the CEO of a huge organization. You know what I mean? With thousands of people being part of the institution. So he has to be a full-time player, a full-time CEO. So I believe that this must be full-time, right? I believe that the GenSec has to be in a position. Well, the staff must be paid, but I believe that as a huge organization, properly run and properly organized, we will be in a position to raise the necessary funds. Let me explain to you. For instance, right? How does a political party raise funds? A political party raises funds several ways. It gets donation, you know, the whole events, you know, all different types of things, the whole events and whatnot. They have dues. They could get into business, you know, at Bally's House, in the 41 constituencies and that sort of thing and whatnot. There's so much things to do. Dues. Now, the dues basically is about $120 per individual. Now, a party group normally will have about 50 members in a party group, right? So that's $2,400 for the year.
24 members.
2,400 for the year for 20 members, right, for the year. Now, a constituency will have, let's say, about 30 party groups roughly. Some will have 40, some will have 50 and whatever. So I'm just saying average about 30 party groups. When you multiply that by the 41 constituencies, that's about $3 million per year. No, I'm just saying this. And then how we used to do it long time, you wouldn't just ask a party member, okay, come with your 120. Right? What normally happens is that over a period of time, sometimes after a meeting, you give us a $5, $2, and the treasurer in the party group takes record. You know, so it is not hurting the party member. The party member can just pay the dues, you know, in a certain way. But at the end of the day, you know, he becomes financial at the end of the period, and that is money that even comes back to help, because as I mentioned, Martin, for instance, was able to look at some party groups, look at some areas, and assist with funding, you know, with great projects that will help them empower themselves, you know. So these are the things that we have to be mindful of. And you know, when you don't manage, right, the dues process, when you don't manage it, You take the power out of the hands of the party group members and you give it either to the MP, who will pay the dues and control who come in the party, who come in the executive, or financiers. So in order to stay out, not have financiers, right, or an individual control the executives and control the process and take it away from the people, this must be managed carefully. How you manage it? You keep the power with the people. You work with your party group members, you help them so that they themselves will be responsible for paying their dues. You help them, right? So that they keep their power. They keep the power.
So what you are basically saying is that, or what we have been told is that the general secretary, when they're not in office, they are being paid a salary, or are they being paid a salary when they're in office and out of office? How does it work?
Well, the general secretary basically will get us the staff, basically, general secretary and the staff. Whether you're in office, you're out of office, you're entitled to be paid a salary and whatnot. My proposal, I'm different. Right? I'm different. I believe that at least being not in office now, we can do some volunteer work and whatnot, but full-time work, right? To rebuild the organization and whatnot. And when the organization gets to a point where it could afford that sort of thing, then we could treat with paying the GenSec. But for now, let us concentrate on paying the staff that runs Balizi House, minus the GenSec. The secretaries and all of those things. People, they have to be paid. Yes, they do.
So let me open it up for the questions. Any questions, or anybody want to call and ask Mr. Roger Boynes any questions? You're free to ask him your questions, and we will then ask him the questions right here. But yes. Mr. Boynes, let me ask you this question.
Yes, of course.
Then if it is that you have to pay the general secretary, why are some people behaving as though, if it is that, then why it is some people are behaving is doing a favor for the party if we are paying him or paying her to manage the affairs of the party?
And precisely. This is a management issue, It's straight management, right? And the thing is, you are being paid, or let me not say you are being paid, because next thing you know is a big issue. I'm not getting paid and all that kind of thing and whatnot. You are being retained. You are being retained to act as a manager on behalf of the organization, right? So in that capacity, whatever the remuneration, the consideration may be, that may be you and the organization to discuss that. We can't discuss that over this program. But the fact of the matter is that you are retained to do a job. And that job is not as though you do us any favor. You're not doing us any favor, right? Because there are a lot of people that could do that job. There are a lot of managers in the PNM, right, that could do that job. I am simply just offering myself, but there are other people who could do that job, because the PNM has produced a lot of talent. And this is our party and we want to fix it.
Question again. Is there a rule that the funds on hand and expenses of the disbursement of the party should be reported to the membership at a regular interval, or at regular intervals?
There's the treasurer of the organization must always give a report to the general council, right? And that report goes
Right.
when we have annual convention. That is tabled at the annual convention so we can actually see the accounts. All members can look at the accounts and whatnot, and they can question it. They can question that general council, they can question that convention, you know. So it is open to the membership. You're quite right. It is open to the membership, right? Because that money is not one man money. That money belongs to the organization. So there has to be accountability, and PNM is well known for demonstrating accountability, you know, that sort of thing. So we as the new executive look forward to examining every aspect of it and to give account to the people as to the state of play, the status of everything, the status of every single thing that obtains now, and take it up and move it to a higher level with a higher standard.
Let me ask you this question. 6 weeks, 12 weeks, or even 6 months. In your opinion, do you think that we should have been ready to win a general election or local election? And were we ready or not?
So when you look at the history, we lost votes in the 2 last local elections, and yes, we lost votes and the government in this general election. Right. Now, the thing is, with a general secretary managing the machinery properly, one must be able to withstand an election anytime it is called. What we have here is a political party. What is the function of a political party? The main function is to win election. How do you win election? You win election by making sure that all the organs of this great party is functional, properly functional at any given time an election may be called. So excuse after excuse after excuse. It could be 6 weeks, 6 days, 6 months. We must be prepared at all times. And that is what a good manager does. And I am that manager. So come June the 22nd, I intend to be the next General Secretary, if you will have me, if the membership will have me. But I pledge to try my very best. I give you my word.
Well, let's take a call here. Caller, go ahead. Yes, caller, go ahead.
Mr. Point.
Yes, sir.
I am listening to your interview, and it's a very learning interview for me, right? And the question I would like to ask you, right?
Yes.
When an election is called, right? Does the organization, the members of the organization, put all effort on board to win that election, and all internal election and convention is second to that general election? And one more question I would like to ask you. You talk about collective responsibility in an organization, right? That when you're in a cabinet or in a grouping of a meeting and a decision was made, right? It's supposed to be kept within that framework. And it has some people now coming out and saying, I'm telling you, I listened to the interview, they wasn't on board with the election. And this is what I am learning a lot of things here from you tonight. And you will have my support totally, because you have given me a lot of information. And this is the question I would like you to answer to me, that when an election is called, does everything on board is put aside and focus on the big prize of the election, Mr. Boynes? Thank you very much, and have a good night.
Thank you. And I want to agree with the caller. Yes, I want to agree with the caller. It is well known. It is the custom. It is the convention. It is almost the law that anytime an election is called, anytime, right? 2 things. Everything else must be put aside. And we must focus on the prize. The prize is to win the government, whether it is local government or general government. That is the prize. And that is what we have to do. And secondly, all bickerings. You don't like this one, you don't like the next person and whatnot. From the time the bell ring, every man, Jack, woman, Jane on board. Everybody on board working with a common cause. That is to achieve the victory. Gentlemen, is quite right. Secondly, there's something called collective responsibility. You can't tell me you sit down, and everybody had a say in a room, and afterwards when you come out, you're leaking the information and then blame it that you didn't agree with it and that sort of thing. That is childish. That's childishness, right? That is not the PNM way. They need to stop it and stop it now. It demonstrates that a lot of them were not grounded in the training of respect, the training of keeping your mouth shut and not disclosing the business in the public, because we have what is called collective responsibility. We took a decision together. In order for one to demonstrate cabinet qualities, there's something called collective responsibility at cabinet. So if you can be trusted as an MP, then when we get in the government, can we put you in cabinet? You might take the business of the cabinet and God knows where it might be. So we are saying whatever decision was made by our MPs and our leaders and that sort of thing, right? There is the doctrine of collective responsibility. So they should stop attacking each other and stop it now.
Well, any other questions anybody will have for Mr. Roger Boynes? Well, I have one question I want to ask you, Mr. Roger Boynes. And this question is, you as the General Secretary of the party, is it your business to dabble your hand in all the different arms of the executive to control what they could do and what they can do? What is really the role and the function of what you're supposed to do as the General Secretary?
Well, the General Secretary basically is the secretary to the General Council, Central X, and the annual convention. So whenever any decision that is made by this body, by the party itself, by the body, right? Any decision must be implemented by the GenSec. So he has to implement the decision. Let me give you an example, for instance. If for instance, there is an irritant, right? Some major problem in the constituency and some big hole in front of a school, as it were. And time again, it has not been repaired. A party group member brings it to the attention of his chairman. The chairman takes it to the executive of the constituency. The constituency now, through its general council member, goes to the general council meeting and brings it up. These are the concerns of the constituency. It is recorded there and whatnot. The minister, who's also ex officio in general council, stands up. I will look into it. Okay? So, as such now, the GenSec, who by the Constitution is charged to implementing the decision of these august bodies, general council included, he then now has to make sure he follows up with that particular minister, not for any other thing, but to give implementation for the decision that general council made to fix that pothole. So he follows up with all the different to give action to the decision of the party. Not his or her own own what he or she wants, other than what the party has dictated. We have a constitution, and that constitution is one of the best constitutions.
Mm.
Most Caribbean territories have adopted our constitution.
Mr. Boynes, let me ask you this question, and this is my final question. My final question. There's a letter that is circulating in the public domain that could be very much damning. It's from one named Dane Wilson, and he is questioning the legitimacy of an election that would have transpired on May the 6th, I believe it was. He said that he sent a letter to the General Secretary of the party, and he has gotten no response. In fact, the General Secretary would have stated that he did not see or did not come into contact with this particular letter. As a General Secretary of a party, when correspondents are coming to the office, is it not the responsibility of those who work under the General Secretary, like those in the office, to sign some form of documentation to state that they did receive the letter and on what date they received this letter?
You see, it's all about management, as we have discussed tonight. It's about management. Any document that comes into the office of the General Secretary, the office of the institution, must be recorded. Whether it comes by soft, right, by email, etc., or whether the hard copy comes by way of mail. There's a process that speaks to receiving and acknowledgement of receiving, and establishing the date and time of receiving these documents. It is key. I'm not just talking because I'm an attorney at law by profession, but just habit of how things have to be done and proper management. Any document that comes inside is important. The people take the time to write and pencil a letter. It is important. It have important issues and whatnot. So it is about proper management. So it is not any excuse to be saying you didn't get it, you didn't receive it. That is just talking and hiding. Embrace the situation, deal with the situation. If it is that they didn't write a letter and they said, okay, this is the letter, I got it, right? However, we can't deal with it at this time. We will deal with it at another time. Or if it is that they can deal with it now, deal with it now. Why run? There's no need to run. Deal with your issues.
But Mr. Boynes, just to do a follow-up on what you just said, but if it is that the party, because the party was told that you must have at least 15 members to sign the letter, and if 15 members sign the letter, then it's supposed to trigger off a special meeting from General Council. That's one. And two, if General Council meet on the matter, let me say they meet on the matter on Monday, wouldn't that not be causing problems for the election that is also supposed to take place at this point in time?
Well, the election will take place on Sunday.
Well, Sunday. Next week Sunday.
And he would have to be given 7 days notice. The General Council would have to be given 7 days notice of the meeting. So so either way, it would be called after the election. But I will give Dane the assurance that when I get inside there, right, I will address his concerns.
All right, and just 3 questions from the people who are asking in the chat room. If you are not successful, they're asking, would you be helping in the rebuilding process?
Yes, indeed, I intend to. The answer is yes. Plain and simple, yes. This is our party. All hands on deck. Our party needs us now more than ever. And we all have to play a role in bringing back the party to where it is. This party is important. A strong PNM is important for Trinidad and Tobago, to uphold and protect the rights, freedom of the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. Yes, my answer is yes.
All right, the next question here from one of the chatters. Mr. Boynes, while I like how you speak, where have you been for the past 10 years? I am concerned about the gap and want to feel comfortable with you coming forward for service now. Please explain.
Yes, I'm glad that you asked that question, because what has happened is that I have been in the constituency of Toko Sangre Grande, formerly Toko Manzanilla and whatnot. Sometimes Dr. Rowley would have had some concern, especially when the work was being done on the highway, and the two highways, and the opposition had mentioned a highway going to the highway to nowhere, and the port, and denouncing the port. I would have started up a session to indicate to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, right, being asked by the Prime Minister to do so, right, the importance, the need for it, and that we are people too in the East. Secondly, right, in not the last election, local election, the one before, I was the campaign manager for Nigel Safe. I worked hand in hand with the constituency of Komutu Manzanilla and ensured that I put all the resources for that campaign. I took night and day and worked the case. We were not successful, but we got some ground in that particular area. And we used the opportunity to bring water. We liaised with Mr. Hunt, who was the Public Utilities Minister at the time. And we got all the names from all the people. We dug up all of the information over the years. I put it together as a manager should, and got Mr. Hunt to bring water to the Fleming village in the Manzanilla district, where they never had water. Almost 134 years that village is in place, and they never had water. Up to now, these people, anytime I go there, it's like carnival. Let me also say this. In the Fishing Pond area, we contacted TNTech, the regional corporation, and we made sure we got the lights, electricity infrastructure to light up our ground for the sports that we held. We have been holding sporting programs throughout the length and breadth of this community. Let me tell you something. I will never stop doing charity work. I will never stop doing social work. That, when you do things like that and you help people, you get a good night's sleep. You know. That is your pride and joy when you help people. You know. So.
Mr. Boynes? We kind of lost him a little bit there. All right. Well, he's there, but we're not hearing him. All right. I think he went dark on the screen there. I'm not too sure. Just check and make sure, because we are getting some load shedding on our side here. And I know a number of people are very, very much all right, Mr. Boynes, you're here? Not hearing him though. Yeah, you probably get a phone call. Mr. Boynes? Your mic. Check your mic.
Right, okay, good.
Your mic.
I can now hear you.
Right. Good. All right. So, and one last question here that, and I think this should be the last question here. Let me just get it here. All right. So, right. So the person's asking here, were you located Where are you located? And if Grandy, why did the party lose Grandy? That's the basically question we're asking.
And I would want to take this and add this sort of the question that was asked and discussed earlier. When you had indicated, you had asked if it is that it's the two leaders that he wants to blame. And I will tell you, it is not that. We all are to blame because you see, Dr. Eric Williams once said, it's only the PNM could be the PNM. You know? And I am telling you, the amount of infighting that obtained up here, infighting. I was in Tunapuna last night, yesterday for Father's Day celebration. No, Saturday, sorry. Yesterday. For Father's Day celebration. And Tunapuna had even more infighting than in Tokosangagand. So when you examine the situation and go through the length and breadth, what took place in Labrie? Right? When you hear it, same thing. Right? So as a manager, the GenSec is charged with managing, right, the institution, which includes every single constituency. You have to manage conflict. You have to manage the thing. Because at the end of the day, you want everybody working hand in hand together for a common purpose, and that is to bring victory for the People's National Movement. Now, when we lose, as we have lost election, you have thousands of people that have lost their jobs. They are going home to their family without knowing where the next dollar will come. You know, the caller asks, what have I been doing? You know, without anybody asking me to. I sent my email and everything to some of those people, reforestation, CPEP, URP workers. And I told them to contact me. Let us examine your
but I think somebody
to ensure that you are not wrongfully discharged.
That's what's going on.
Yes. Can you hear me? Yes.
I think somebody called him, and we will have to postpone our next guest to tomorrow because we do have the facilities here for until 10 o'clock, and they have graciously allowed us another half an hour. Oh, Mr. Boyne, we're back.
What's that?
Mr. Boyne?
Yes.
Oh no, you're back. Well, I want to thank you, Mr. Boyne, for coming in, and feel free to come in, and we would like to come out on one of your road shows and see the rest of the independents, because we realize that the independent team is on the road and they're going out and trying to get an opportunity to be heard. So we would like to come and probably do a live broadcast.
Yes.
And see and hear the rest of the independent team and what they have to present and offer to the members of Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes, indeed.
Any final words?
Well, I would like to ask the membership to look at my experience, look at my love, my care, as has been demonstrated over the years to people, to the membership, the constituencies, to the party group members throughout Trinidad and Tobago. And I give you my word that I will try my very best to manage the institution in the best interest of you, the membership and your family, and to ensure that I bring a help to bring, with the help of the leadership, help to bring the victory back to the PNM in 2030 or before, so that we can take the party into governance, and thereafter work this well-oiled machine to make sure that the mistakes of the past are never made again, and that we put the people first, the membership first. The love and care for the people is of paramount importance. That is the PNM way.
And okay, and we want to thank Mr. Roger Boynes for coming in and being on the Bounce Up on the Ring of Fire. So before he goes, let's ask the members, do you all give the approval or do you all give him tambour? Because you're not in the Ring of Fire. I forgot to tell you that, Mr. Boynes, that you entered the ring.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, Chairman of the Moruga Table and Constituency. Executive members of the Moruga Table and Constituency. Party group members of the Moruga Table area, my fellow colleagues and candidates who are vying to be the next executive representative of the People's National Movement Executive, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Roger Boynes. I'm a former member of parliament for the then Toko Manzanilla constituency, 4 terms in a row successful, with the last term being a margin of 6,000. When I started, the margin was 200. What does that tell you? It tells you that we serve the people. And when I say we, as member of parliament, it's not the I man. I worked hand in hand with my executive. The executive had the experience, the executive had the know-how, the executive were in charge of all the party groups, which are the foundation of the party, and together we ensured that we worked hand in hand with the national executive to service all the party groups. And that is why we were so successful. But when you watch now, you go from area to area, what it should be. Now, as the General Secretary, the role and function of the General Secretary speaks to managing the operation of this great political party. He has to pull it together so that this structure is well oiled, it is well trained, it is ready, willing, and able to face any election, any day, anytime. That is what it's about. That is what it's about. The General Secretary must not be involved in bacchanal after bacchanal after bacchanal. You are General Secretary, and when I watch on TV, I see this man talking about the past 2 leaders, past 2 prime ministers of the People's National Movement. Where you ever hear me watching me with your clothes out in the public like that? The people have served. This is how we bring people together. You can be picking a fight here, you're picking a fight here, saying what? It's not bad. People saying you are bad in the office. What that have to do with PNM business? You cannot, you must not embarrass the party like that. You know, but they follow with the work. The political leader, our beloved political leader, the member of parliament for Rima, the Honorable Penelope Beckles Robinson, who we all support. and pledged to work hand in hand to rebuild this part. She and all saying the other night that they fall on the what? The officers, right, of the party, that is the former national executive, fall down on the work, and that is why we are in opposition. And who was the former? Some of them were 4 or 5 of them running on the same slate to come back and bring that right again for it. The people in Trinidad and Tobago rejected all you. Oh God. And you know, when we went from constituency to constituency, we went to Tunapur. We went all over Trinidad and Tobago. You know what is the crime of the people? They felt that they were disrespected. They felt they couldn't talk to these fellas. They felt if they called them on the phone, they wouldn't answer them, they wouldn't return the call. You know, it was a big party thing. And to demonstrate this, last week, we hosted a membership meeting in Sangre Grande. The honorable political leader was there. Everybody was invited. These ain't for the shopping. The shop, no problem. All is invited. It's a love thing with the PNM. So they came. But I noticed I was outside welcoming everybody to the meeting. But when I saw these fellas and them sitting on in the car, one in particular in the back seat, so he's still a driver. You understand? So they're in their vehicle, sitting on and waiting. 250 people upstairs, PNM people upstairs. It is only when the political leader came to the meeting. That is the only time that they came out of their car, walked to the political leader, walked upstairs, sit down in front. When the meeting was over, they left. That is not the PNM way. Usually, you socialize with the people because we are all one family. That is the PNM way. If people could say that, Mr. Boynes, I find that there is an elitist approach to government. That was not how it was in the past. Because I recall the late Martin Joseph. When Martin Joseph got a call, executive, who has a complaint from a party group, Martin finding himself inside that executive to find what's going on here. Met with the people, right? Solve the problem. And that is how the thing has to be done. You as a general secretary have to strengthen the party groups. They are the foundation of the party. You have to make sure you bring training for them. You have to make sure that they do canvassing. They're in charge of this polling division. You have to make sure that they are well positioned for the next election. That is what has to happen. If there's a problem with Miss Mary, right, with a big bottle in front of the house for the past whenever, the party group member will bring it to the executive. The executive will bring it to General Council. General Council will then make a decision and say you have to fix Miss Mary pothole. The GS, the General Secretary, take a note of that. He records what General Council. Then he has to implement it. So the Minister General Council, because he's ex officio, a member of General Council, he stands up and said, yes, I will make sure that Miss Mary pothole is dealt with. The General Secretary takes a record of that. And when the meeting is over, next day, or if it's a Saturday, Monday morning, the General Secretary picks up his phone or goes and visits that minister. You have to fix Miss Mary, the pothole in front of Miss Mary's house. And that is how the thing used to run. to the party will ensure that the party's mandate and manifesto is carried out by the government. Because that is what we sold. We sold the manifesto. We're going to do everything. This is the plan to develop all regions, all constituency, and the country. And that is what the General Secretary has to ensure that these things are carried out. And how are they to be carried out? He must make sure that all the satellite, 41 satellite, 41 branches of the whole is functioning. He has to take his elections officer, which plan? We have party groups like all the polling division. He has to take his field officer, visit the party groups, build more party groups, make sure that every polling station has party groups managing the voters, make sure to get welfare officer, make sure the people happy in the party group, get education officer, make sure they educate the party group members, bring training program. That is what has to happen. So you have a well-oiled machine. So when they come to election, it's not only Penelope Beckles, Robertson, 51 constituency, stand up strong. That is what you see. And the role of the General Secretary is to make that bond, that love, that get the thing together, not cussing the former prime ministers, not saying about who bad talking me. The ladies are here, the fella talking about is that in 5 years, he didn't get anybody paving his road. Look, your job right now is not to make excuses. Not to make excuses. When I looked at the reason why we lost the election, yes, we made some difficult decisions. Because in life, you make decisions. But you know what I realized? I realized this same fella, this incumbent, was making bacchanal in every constituency. You know. When you go to Puna, it's this one fighting that one. You go Grandy, this one is talking to that one. The chairman one way, the candidate the next way. You go through the length and breadth of this country before that last general election. And you will see, because people trying to position themselves for leadership, they're creating bacchanal in every constituency. That is the problem. And we have the position right now to give what our beloved political leader really wants. She really wants to see the bacchanal fellas, and we're going to give her what she wants. Come June the 22nd, we're going to make sure that the political leader gets exactly what she wants and get the real. To tell you how these fellas are there at this work. I was actually waiting on the mayor to come. Oh, it was actually for the mayor to reach. All right, okay, good. Well, as much as I've been having a lot of fun here today, the time has arrived for me to stand up. But before I do, let me ask each and every one of you all to look at the candidates that we have on our side. You heard them. Look at the genuineness of us. We came here before you, asking for your kind support. Come June 22nd, we will not let you down. Greatest fear. At this time.
And as he walks in, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. Sorry for the
I introduce the mayor, because it's been a The organization chairman of the party, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, let me recognize Chairman of the constituency, all members of the constituency executive, my fellow independent candidates that have offered themselves in this internal election. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening all of you. Opening your hearts to welcoming us to come and spend a little time with you this evening. I know that the campaign has been a long and arduous one, and we're seeing all sorts of things being said. So I want to thank you all for coming out in such large numbers to give us an opportunity to share some things with all of you. On April 28, 2025, this country went to the, on that occasion, the PNM was not successful at the polls. As I'm sure all of you know, the results came down when we won only 13 seats, and we now find ourselves in a position. Since then, I, like many of you, have been going through my own range of defeat, and there have been a lot of questions going back and forth as to why we found ourselves out of office. Different people have different points of view as to what caused us to be here, but there's one of those things, one of those theories of our electoral demise, as it is, that I want to touch on briefly, because I think it's important to the exercise that we're about to engage in this coming Sunday. This morning, I saw in the newspaper an article that was attributed to our opposition leader and the next political leader of the PNM, the Honorable Penelope Beckles-Robinson. Where in that article, she made reference to the performance of party officers. The performance of party officers being one of the reasons that the PNM has found itself in opposition today. And what the commentary that I saw, and I mean, I was lying on my bed, and a friend of mine, not a member of the PNM, no real involvement in the politics, but sent me a picture of that article and sent me a comment. And the comment went something along the lines of, well, if a core reason for the party finding itself in opposition today is performance of party officers, how come them is the same party officers on the slate? How come the officers are misled? Some of the wisdom that Dr. Williams left for us. In September 1960, the PNM celebrated its 5th anniversary and had an annual convention at Chagarams. The speech that Dr. Williams gave on that occasion was packaged and published and distributed to all party members. And the main title of that speech is Roles and Responsibilities of Party Members. In that speech, Dr. Williams outlined 6 areas for party members to pay attention to, as he, having only been a political leader for 5 years, because there was no political leader before Dr. Williams. So having been the political leader for the last 5 years, and on the eve of a second general election in 1961, having come out of the federal elections in 1958, Dr. Williams wrote what the roles and responsibilities of party members would be, 6 of them. And one of those things, one of those points that Dr. Williams made then is as relevant today as it was in. He told party members to choose your candidates with care. Choose your candidates with care. Which she spoke about with a candidate, a known faulty, and want to tell the screening committee to give the fella a chance. And he says, give the fella a chance to do what? To do what we know he does do, which is default. Right? What we gave him a chance for. And so my message to all of you in this constituency is that on the 22nd of June, I'm asking you to choose your candidates with care. The best way for you to predict what somebody is going to do tomorrow is to take a look at what they do yesterday. Yes. You want to know what they're going to do tomorrow, just take a look at what they do yesterday. We all are going into this internal election with our two eyes wide open. All who was blinded by this or that, whether it's contract or work, or all was blinded by all everything come off everybody's eyes on April 28th. We all see now that the emperor had no clothes. So that on June 22nd, I'm asking all of you, one, to make a commitment. We need a strong opposition in this country in order for this democracy to work. This democracy that we're doing here, it will not work if we do not have a strong opposition. Two, me know about all of it. I'm not trying to stay in opposition for the next 10 and 20 and 30 years. Me doing that, right? Trinidad and Tobago and the wider Caribbean is better off with the PNM in government. So me, what are you doing, Chini? What is all you do? That is the conversation happening all across the Caribbean. So make a commitment to participate in this internal election. Pick up the phone, call your Tanti, call your Nenen, call your 7 or get Casper that right? Follow everybody. I'm being bold, I will have 500 votes coming out of this constituency. Right? And the third thing, when you reach in that ballot booth, and it's only you and Almighty God in the booth, think about your children. Think about the future of your community. Think about what would make the party the strongest and get the party back into government in the shortest possible time. And choose your candidates with care and consider maybe voting for one or two of the independent candidates for this election. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Chinua Alin. I'm offering myself for the position of chairman of the People's National Movement. I'm asking you to lend me your vote on June 22nd and on June 23rd. For you to come and find me in Bally's House when I sit in the chair as the chairman of the People's National Movement.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ali. Anybody that's it. So I need somebody to the town says you guys. You're not able to make it. Here. Andrew. Here.
Okay.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, you have heard the statement of all the prospective candidates. At this time, I will open the floor for those of us who would like to ask a question of any of them. So the floor is now open. Oh, well. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Was the number of party groups in the framework supposed to be? Registration just recently got in, right? I heard all of you talking about when you joined PNM. I'm proud to say that I officially joined PNM with the election of 2012, right? Like, you know, I was on the bucket list when I was fortunate enough to spend a lot of time with Richard Thompson. And it's been a really fantastic experience with them showing me around. Of course, it didn't go how we thought. And now we sit back and we look at try to figure out how many reasons or what were the factors that led to that. And one of those things that you've spoken about is revitalizing the structure of the PNM. Something that I saw coming in, but as time went along, I saw that the system wasn't working. And for me, coming in early, a couple of questions that's come to mind: what caused the crash in the system? Because we can't fix the system unless we know what caused the crash. It doesn't make sense changing the bulb all the time if you don't know what's blowing the bulb. So we can fix it and we can do it again. So what caused that? And secondly, as we go in and work from the ground, which is the party groups, what's our plan? Exactly what we're going to do. And I know Richard's saying, and I'll be honest here, I'm supporting him fully, and I'll be in like I'll take for us to get it done. But the plan should be a little bit more. What are we going to do when we go into party groups in Mayari? And that's one of the things I would like to hear from our candidates. Last thing before I said, Ms. Paula School said that, you know, we have MPs and we have senators. That's a lot of work. That's MPs, a lot of work, senators, a lot of work. You put them into the central executive, that's an extra job. That's about 10 jobs they have already. And I like the idea of spreading the management of the PNM across the board. Thank you.
That's a very, very important question. The first question you ask is what caused the crash? Basically, what caused the crash? Why is it that we have party groups, for instance, in a particular constituency? I don't want to name at this time, but we went there and they were telling me that they have 3 active party groups, but they have it on paper. They have the rest of them on paper, but 3 functioning party groups. So what is the reason for that? And that's what. So I'll tell you. Right? When you have lost the type of communication with the party group that you need to have, as I mentioned earlier, right? That ability for the party group to feel energized, to know that their concern is not falling on their face. When the party group structured party group members then feel that they could have the PNM as a family, they could meet and mingle with the ministers and that's what, with all aspects, the leadership, with all aspects of the party, and not feel as though we are here, down here, and they are up there. All of these things, as simple as you think it is, it's human beings you're dealing with. So they begin to get a bit disenchanted and that sort of thing. Now, I will also tell you a simple thing like use. Simple thing like use. Right? It's one of the things that has crashed this party. Right? The party structure in terms of the party membership. Let me explain this. Right? The dues is approximately $120 for the year. Right? You have 20 party groups. Sorry, 20 members in a party group. Each constituency average, some will have 40, 50, some will have 20, you know. But if we take about 30, right, as an average throughout the country, 30 party groups, 20 members, 120 per member. That's about $3 million every year. Okay, that the party gets in terms of revenue. Long time, how you collect your dues is that after a party group meeting, somebody, you put $1, put $2, whatever. You understand what I mean? And the treasurer take a note. But you feel good to get out of there, right? Because at the end of the day, if you haven't done, because you as a member, you have power. You're paying for your dues, you have stake in the game. You have equity in the game. But if now you delay in taking up, you don't have this process of encouraging them to pay, give up what they can afford at the time and want it. And you leave it for the end of the year. Something about that. So what happens now? You find one person, BDMP, will come and say, okay, I paid for all the work. Who pays the pipe? You understand? So he controls that party group. He controls this party group. He controls one man choosing people who are only loyal to him. Will have an executive only loyal to him, not the people. It goes even further. Financiers will look to fund the dues, and they control anything. So all of things, one has to understand what happens. And we have to bring back the party back to be owned by the people. We must have a people first approach. People first approach. And with love, with a certain camaraderie, with a family type of disposition, thank you, you're welcome. With that kind of respect for the party group members, we will get there. Together we will get there, and together we will make sure we form the next government in 2030 or before.
Yes, this one for our GNSEC. You have been out of the party spotlight for a while. Why now?
I have not been out of the party, well, the party's frontline, but not out of the party business. Because what we have done in Toko Sangirani, that area and whatnot, in the east, we continue, well, I continue. Why I always say we is because I always move with a team and not the I-man syndrome. So we always roll out sporting programs in the east. We roll out also sorts of social programs assisting the poor and the needy. We have done that behind the scenes. Because sometimes when you give somebody a campus or you help somebody, they don't want to be on a camera and whatnot. So you do your thing quietly, but God knows what you're doing effectively. When Dr. Rowley wanted someone to deal with the seat in Manzanino, for instance, the local government election in 2019, he asked me to run the campaign. I ran the entire campaign with our team in answer, right? We made serious inroads into that community. And you know, I brought this skill, what Mr. Manning had taught all of us, about liaising with government ministers and begging them and putting pressure when the pressure was needed. We were able to go into the Fleming village. In that particular village, quietly got petition from everybody. And Robert Lehunt, he was then the Minister of Public Utilities. He worked closely with us. And we were able to take night and day. When it reached the point they could get pipes and water, I went and I bought it. They had water for 100 and something years. Today they have water. We used that election to do a lot of work. We went again in Fishing Pond area. During that campaign, you know, while we have the campaign going on, we're trying to get work done for the people. We went again, Robert Clayhunt was very good. And we got that wrong a little later. And they get it lit up for a while. But sometimes you have to follow the trail in this. And when you go through area by area, is it in a desk with a clerk? You have to do what is called follow-up. That is the trick in servicing. Whether you're a councillor, whether you're MP, a minister, follow up. Right? Whether you're a general secretary, follow up. It is about managing the process for the benefit of the people. And that is what I've been doing behind the scenes. Right? But when I see my party under threat when men fall down on the work, it will take the experienced fellas to come back because Eric Williams built this. My grandmother invested in this. My mother invested in this. I will let people try it all again? No, sir. We all have to come in, regardless of what position we come in, to help build back this party. And I am here to do that.
Good afternoon, everyone. In April, we suffered a most scathing defeat at the polls, and the PNM is now in opposition. It's going to take a dedicated and loyal team to get us back where we ought to be, which is in government, and this is going to happen in 2030. But it's going to require a lot of work by dedicated PNM loyalists. And I'm saying to you that I'm one of them, Paula Gopi-Schoon, and I'm vying for the position of vice chairman. We're going to look after 41 constituencies, hence the reason why my logo is a map of Trinidad with the delineated constituencies all in red. We're aiming for 40, but what we're going to do anyway is look after our people, PNM people, the ground in 41 constituencies. And this is what is going to get us back into office. There are those who have to serve us through the parliament. And it's going to require a lot of them to defend the government and in some cases defend themselves and their constituencies. There are many capable people, independents in the party, and these are the persons who I think, I'm one of them, who will take us back to government. It is going to require effort, and as vice chairman, I'm prepared to work with a team to focus on the ground. You know I understand the ground. I've been the MP for Point of Fortin for 2 terms. I've also served as coordinator in St. Augustine, in Chagonaseas, in Point-a-Pierre, now Claxton Bay, and in Maruga. And you know that I have performed extremely well. Knowing and understanding the ground and understanding people is what is going to get us there. We are supposed to be in government. The only way we can do that is if we work towards helping our people, helping them to prosper and understanding their needs. As independents, I'm one of them, and I'm asking you to vote Paula Gopi-Schoon, Vice Chairman.
Tova Lynn Sandy, candidate for General Secretary. Tova Lynn Sandy knows what it means to serve. From her earliest days as a youth officer in the Five Rivers Community Council to her tenure as local government counselor in the Tunapuna Piarco Regional Corporation, her leadership has always been grounded in purpose, people, and principle, guided by the belief that the leader's job is to make themselves obsolete. Tova has devoted her life to empowering others, building systems, amplifying unheard voices, and shaping communities that thrive, beyond any single term or title. A qualified attorney at law with academic training in political science, law, and social work, she brings a rare blend of intellect, discipline, and heart to every space she enters. Whether as managing director of Estate Pro Solutions or as a judicial research counsel in the judiciary of Trinidad and Tobago, Tova has demonstrated the steady competence and strategic foresight required to get things done. But it is her grassroots heart that truly sets her apart. Years of advocacy with youth, NGOs, and village councils across St. George East have made her a trusted force for change. Tova enters this race not as part of a slate, but as a servant with a firm belief that she will be the bridge between the members on the ground and the voices and leadership entrusted with the ground's power. On Sunday, June 22nd, 2025 vote, Tova Lynn Sandy for PNM General Secretary. Your voice makes this party move.
Miss Maxine Richards, good evening once again.
Good evening, Devon.
And welcome to the Ring of Fire. So let's go straight into it. Let's go straight into it one time. Now, don't read the chat room. If you're seeing the chat room, Please do not read the chat room.
Okay, I
They
will
will
not.
distract you, so don't read the chat room.
Okay, okay.
I want you to be focused, don't
I'm dying to see those chat. That
So, let me go. So, there we go. So, Miss Maxine, you're going up back for the position of welfare officer.
That's correct.
But for those who don't know who is Miss Maxine Richards, could you please just give them a little intro into who is Miss Maxine Richards, one, and why you're going up for back for the position as welfare officer as an independent candidate?
Okay, so I joined the PNM in 2010. I would have joined because it was a party that I believed in their philosophies. I believed in the PNM as a whole. I would have read the constitution and I said, okay, I can be part of this movement. So I joined in 2010. In 2015, I became very involved with Port of Spain North St. Anne's West and the election campaign, which was with the candidate Stuart Young. And I have remained in Port of Spain North St. Anne's West ever since. I would have become the secretary of the Port of Spain North St. Anne's Women's League in 2016, and I remained in that position until 2024. In 2024, I was elected as the chairman of the constituency's Women's League, and that's a position I currently hold. During the time as well, I sat on the constituency executive as social media officer, PRO as well, and now I'm the lady vice chair of the constituency. It's a constituency that's very close to my heart, and I will continue working in that constituency as long as I remain a PNM member, which I think I will remain until I die. So in 2015, I started also working very closely with Joycelyn Borden, who was the former welfare officer for the party. And I worked with her on all the welfare events. Unfortunately, in 2021, she passed, and the executive of the People's National Movement asked me to hold on as the welfare officer until we had elections in 2022, which I did go up for the same position, and I was elected the welfare officer in 2022. The question you want me to answer is, why am I going up as independent? Well, I don't think to be honest, no one from any slate came to me and asked me to be part of their slate. And as such, I had two choices, either go up or don't go up. And I chose go up because I think my track record as the welfare officer over the past 2 years was very good. And I really wanted to help people, continue helping people, especially in a time of opposition where our members need us more than ever. Does that answer your question? I'm not hearing you if you're speaking, Devon.
Yeah, just now, hold on. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you hear me now, right?
Yes, I am.
Right. So, but if a slate did approach you, would you have gone up on a slate by chance?
I really can't answer that right now because there were no options at that point in time. So I really can't say answer right now.
So let me ask.
I'm not hearing you.
All right. So, Miss Maxine, are you hearing me now?
Yes, I'm hearing you. Yes, I'm hearing you now.
All right. So we are back. And
So I don't think a slate defines someone and independent.
All right. So let me go to the questions because I know that some people may have questions that they may want to ask you in between. And because apparently we are getting some dip in the electricity in the night tonight. For some, I'm hearing a background music. Yeah. All right. So, Miss Maxine, tell us what are some of your accomplishments as a welfare officer? For the last, it would have been one term you would have served as welfare officer.
Yes, during that term, I would have done numerous back to school drives, which would have included. Well, let me start from the beginning. I got in was decide that I wanted to include Tobago and Tobago Council in all of my drive, which was not previously done. So I would have worked with welfare officers and we would have done drives in holiday as the you hearing me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you. I was just cracking up a little bit.
I also assisted PNM members with wheelchairs, walkers, crutches. I also assisted them with fast tracking their self-help grants, social grants, and getting their pension fast tracked through NIB. I assisted persons with getting employment. I had several clothing drives to assist persons who would have lost their clothing during fires. What I also did was I lobbied with a lot of medical institutions, both private and public, to assist citizens in much needed medical care. So if a PNM member came to me, I would have ensured a shorter wait time for critical surgeries such as bypass, also assisted members with getting cataract surgeries. And there were cases where members needed to have surgery that were not offered in public institutions. I would have assisted them in it done institutions as I started meals and I did a trial of it in Christmas 2023 where I delivered hot Christmas meals to citizens who did not family, and I think I was I wanted to feel so that was a little bit of what I did during the time, which would have been December 20 until currently.
Miss Maxine, I think you may have to put do not disturb on your phone because apparently people when they're sending in messages, it's breaking up your audio. So it was kind of going in and out a little while ago. Right? Right. So as soon as you fix that, we will continue.
Is that better?
Right. So we right. Yeah, that is much better.
Okay, so you want me to repeat?
Miss Maxine, well, we not really we could always fix it up for you.
Mm-hmm.
But people have a question that they want to ask.
Mm-hmm.
As a member of the executive, did you encounter any problems with the other members of the executive not wanting you to do certain things or were trying to control you on what you could do and what you couldn't do as a welfare officer?
Not at all. Every single member of the executive was very, very supportive of everything that I did. Whenever I needed advice from some, they would give me, and we worked very well together.
Okay. And what are some of your plans that if you become the welfare officer again on an independent ticket, what are some of your plans?
Well, as I have been saying, on the morning of April 29th, we all got up and the PNM was in opposition. And I think PNM members need the welfare officer more than ever. Members have, and those who haven't lost their jobs, care that they will be losing their jobs soon. A lot of them are being victimized. So it's at this point in time that myself and my four welfare officers have to step and take all of these citizens, these members. My plan to open a food. I would like to bank in Port of Spain, open other ones throughout the country. This would allow PNM members to the food bank to get awareness when they need it most. Right? Have to on a hamper. Food, they come and they get it. I also want to open a clothing bank. This clothing bank will also have clothes for young professionals who are starting to work and they don't have, always when you now start to work, you don't have that first month's salary to buy nice clothes to go to work. They can come to this clothing bank and get professional clothes that would assist them and see them through the first month. And so it's right now I have to think about what the members need most. We'll also have to assist them with getting jobs and also in some cases with simple things like resume writing. I want to do some health caravans as well as some the constituencies. There's a project that I would love to do, which is this welfare fund. Stalwarts who need to do surgeries which they may not be able to afford. I intend to fund this welfare fund by events, something separate and apart from PNM. And this will give me sufficient and my plan for the next 2 years for welfare officers.
So, members of the public, do you all have any questions that you would like to ask Ms. Maxine Richards?
Oh, and Devon, if necessary,
I will make you breaking up.
You're probably hearing my dog bark. If necessary, I will make myself available to members.
Yeah, go ahead.
On a weekly basis, if they need to come and speak to me about their
You're breaking up, Miss Maxine. You're breaking up. We hear the dog, but we need.